and watch the young Lions battle with the established stars for a share of the glory. We've watched those young guns come of age and bring the ASA to the forefront of the motorsports world. Through it all, the common denominator has been non-stop action as good as it gets. We've seen victory celebrations and new champions crowned. Will the newest name added to the ASA legend be Brian Refner? We'll soon see. America's premier short track racing series wraps up the season with the AC Rapidfire 400 from Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. A brisk fall afternoon here for the final race of the season. Hello everybody, I'm Brian Drever along with Rob Albright. We're getting set, a little chilly up here. We won't be up here all afternoon. What will be going on though is some terrific racing out there. While some of the aspects of the championship have already been wrapped up, the manufacturer's title and the rookie title, the overall points battle is still a little bit up for grabs.
Yeah, it is. Did you say a little brisk? I feel like this Florida boy feels like a 170-pound popsicle of it. High today in the 40s. Yes, it's all but over for the championship. Brian Refner just needs a 30th place or better finish to wrap up the title. But the real dogfight is that family feud, if you will, 3rd through 8th in the points. And that, of course, includes Glenn Allen Jr., Bob Seneker, Brad Loney, Gary St. Amant, Mike Miller, Scott Hansen, and Tony Raines in 9th, not really out of it. And all back through, Brian, the top 20. There are all kinds of battles for the point standings this year.
As brisk as it is up here today, yesterday it was pouring down rain, and it rained out qualifying. So what they've done is grid the cars according to the championship points. So we're going to see some terrific racing for the championship right off the bat.
And not only did it rain out qualifying, there was only about 10 minutes, very brief practice period, and only about half the drivers had an opportunity to get out on the racetrack. So as ASA President Rex Robbins said in the drivers' meeting, yes, you guys will get some practice time today. The first 25 laps of the race under green.
And then he added, if something's wrong with your car, just pull it and fix it. Well, that's during the race after the green flag. We'll be having that green flag coming up here in just a few moments. It's hard to believe that the last race of the season is already upon us. And we're also going to check in, of course, with the third member of our broadcast team one last time here in 1995. Here's Ralph Shaheen.
You know, last year here at Jennerstown, Brian Refner was battling with Dave Sensible for the Pat Shower Rookie of the Year award. And guess what? This year you're right back in the midst of a fight for a title. This year's for the actual championship. Now, you only have to finish 30th or better here today. Does that mean that you coast to a title, or do you actually race for a win today?
Well, we definitely come here to finish in the top 5. And I don't know what it is about this place, but it sure just brings a lot of nerves and butterflies to me. You know, this going for my first ASA championship. You know, if we can come out of here with that, it's going to be a fantastic feeling. So, you know, we got to do what we've done all year to make sure we finish, you know, the way it got us here. So that's what we're here to race.
The guy he is fighting with, of course, is the 7-time champion of the AC-Delco Challenge Series, none other than Mike Enning, his Goodrich Service Pontiac. Mike, we had no practice, no qualifying, and it's very cold out here today, and you've got to win this thing for any chance of getting that title. How do you set your car up today?
Well, you kind of go by the notes from what you had here in the spring, and that'll be close enough, and we'll work on a little bit during the race, and we'll make sure and try and get this Goodrich Service Pontiac in the winner's circle.
So number 1 and 2 in the points will start first and second on our grid today, and the guy who's going to get us underway is a gentleman by the name of John Goring from Parts America. John, how about if you get this championship title fight underway?
Yes, sir. Gentlemen, start your engines.
Ladies and gentlemen, we propose that you stick around. 400 laps of racing here to wrap up the AC-Delco Challenge Series for 1995. It's going to be a good one. Hold on to your hat.
How long does a car battery last? About this much time is put into most batteries. But AC-Delco puts in more, so our batteries last over 20% longer. Now there's the new Delco Freedom 84, our longest-lasting battery ever, with 7 years of guaranteed starts, making it the granddaddy of all batteries.
Hey, my watch.
Western Auto and Western Auto's Parts America. Serious parts, serious savings.
Win's Extend Supreme Plus is a patented oil supplement especially formulated for today's high-tech engines. Extend helps increase oil life, combats engine wear, and reduces oil oxidation. So next time and every time you have your oil changed, ask for Extend, the supplement that will not void manufacturer's warranties and comes with its own 100,000-mile warranty. Extend Supreme Plus, a Win Oil Company product since 1939. Available at your quality service facility, including Firestone, Goodyear, and Grease Monkeys.
Car in NASCAR Winston Cup history is back. Introducing the race-modified Chevrolet Monte Carlo.
Memphis, California Gold, the finest cleaners, polishes, and finish restores. Carnauba Wax protects and shines. Easy to apply, looks great.
California Gold, there's no shine like Mother's.
Welcome to the AC-Delco Challenge Series on Prime. As Parts America presents the AC Rapidfire 400, brought to you in part by Win Oil Company, makers of quality automotive car care products. Remember, when it's wins, it works. By Goodyear, #1 in racing, #1 in tires. And by your GM Goodwrench service dealer. We want your business. We're in the Laurel Highlands of western Pennsylvania. The fall colors starting to make their presence shown here today. And a brisk fall afternoon. Folks bundled up in the race stands and the grandstands there. And everybody down on pit row, you're going to see a lot of long sleeves and parkas down there. You'd think it was wintertime, but I'll tell you what, the racing is going to be plenty hot here today for the championship of the AC-Delco Challenge Series.
And you know, Brian, a surprisingly good crowd here this afternoon. I'm not sure if I had to buy a ticket and then sit out on this, on these aluminum bleachers all afternoon that I'd do it. But great race fans here in Pennsylvania, and I'm sure they're going to be rewarded with this championship finale today.
It should be a good one, and as we mentioned right at the top of the show, you won't have a whole lot of difficulty picking out who the contenders for the points are because that's the way they're gridded. Let's take a look at the starting field. This is also the order of points for the championship.
Going from the front row, Brian Refner en route to a championship in just his sophomore ASA campaign in his Ford of Greensburg BMW STI Ford, and Mike Eddy, 7-time ASA champ, a long shot for an 8th title in his GM Goodwrench Service HRE Pontiac.
And as we look down for the next row there, Glenn Allen Jr. sitting third on points, and we look back at the third row. Brad Loney just 24 points ahead of Gary St. Amant. Mike Miller trails by another 11, and then Steve Carlson will wheel the number 53 car that Scott Hansen has drove all season.
Tony Raines in that Mex America Cleanburn Pontiac will start 9th alongside the youngster Joe Knott from Grand Rapids, Michigan, the Alan Knott Valvoline Raby Ford Thunderbird, and then in the 6th row, last year's Rookie of the Year Dave Sensibo, who's had a rather quiet season. And boy, he is a determined young man as he will set sail again next year. Kent Stauffer, the perennial top 10 points man in ASA, so only 12th this year, but he's still got a shot at that top 10.
Working back a little further, top left there, that's Rick Beebe. He will be the Pat Shower Memorial Rookie of the Year. A terrific job that he did coming back from a lot of misfortune early in the first race at Columbus, alongside Rick Miller, who was the early points leader in the rookie battle, Harold Fair, the great veteran, and Ted Smokestad in the Super America car. Terrific talent back there on row 8.
Harold Fair looking to build on that Dana sponsorship next year. Kentuckian Bill Baird, the guy that owns the MiG that you got to ride in earlier this season. He starts inside row 9, and outside the 9th row, Dennis Berry making just his second ASA start. He will quest for Rookie of the Year next season. And in the 10th row, another rookie, Eddie Sharp on the inside, and the doctor, Yale Conley, in car number 3.
As we continue back through the point standings and the starting grid, the Zero Hero, Tom Jones, won this race 2 years ago. He is both pitted and gridded in exactly the same spot as where he started when he had that victory against Tony Roper. Hard luck story this year. Always hopeful, though, looking ahead to next year. J.D. Summers, a very fast rookie, and Todd Forbes, another guy, a little snake bit here in 1995, looking for a good run today.
The 13th row on the inside, Jay Sauter, another young man. We'll be talking about him later when we chart the changes for next season. And Brandon Sperling, I think among the rookie drivers the last 2 outings, he has been very, very impressive. The 14th row, Steve Holtzhausen in a car that earlier was driven to a victory by Bobby Gill, and Jay Sauter's younger brother, Tim, in Randy Larson's car number 02.
Back on row number 15, the only female driver in the American Speed Association this year, Cindy Peterson, will wheel her own machine, looking ahead next year to another run at the rookie battle. Brett Bell, also a likely rookie contender for 1996. David Anspaugh, the other doctor in the field out there, a PhD, and Glenn Gauld on the wheel, behind the wheel at orange number 30.
And the remainder of this afternoon's 37-car starting grid begin with row 17, Bob Dorstowitz, running as a teammate to Dave Sensiva today in car number 14, and Billy Turner, the guy from Oklahoma, in car number 58. The 18th row, owner of Harold Fair's car number 81. This is former ASA regular Alec Pinsonneau, a Canadian, and Tom Harrington, an ex-professional football player, just running a limited ASA schedule these days.
And rounding out the field will be the 69 car Jeff Finley. 37 cars taking the green flag here when we get ready to go racing. JEGS High Performance is the proud sponsor of this evening's starting grid. Dial 1-800-CALL-JEG. That's JEGS today to receive your free JEGS mail order catalog loaded with thousands of top name brand performance parts and accessories. JEGS High Performance sponsoring this evening's starting grid.
Track just a little over half a mile. It's a perfect oval. Without a doubt, the most well-maintained and most beautifully prepared facility that the ASA drivers run on the turn. Slightly banked at 9 degrees, the straights at 6, and it's a good 2-groove racetrack. And by the way, if you're wondering what that was all about just before we went to break, Will You Marry Me, Brenda? Crewman for Glenn Allen Jr., Huey Hatzinger, that's the way he proposed. She looked at it this morning, and she said yes. So congratulations to those youngsters. Isn't that sweet?
This is, of course, the second time we have visited Jennerstown this year. We came here earlier in the spring, and we come back here one more time, of course, to wrap up the season. 400 laps, 208.8 miles. The track is 0.522 as they measure it around the bottom. 37 cars on the starting grid. The predominantly Chevrolet starting field, although Pontiac has already wrapped up the Manufacturers' Championship this year. The lone Oldsmobile in the field is that of David Anspaugh, I believe, and the track record, well, you saw that. It's hard to imagine it'll stand for another year because we had no qualifying. We're going to take a quick cut away from the relative lack of action here. The green flag has yet to drop. They're making sure they warm them up good for the championship run here at Jennerstown. We'll be right back.
A whole range of things that can go wrong in golf. Slices, hooks, curves.
The club would hit the ground and wouldn't even hit the ball.
I used to hit the ball with a horrendous slice.
I needed some help, and Golf Digest gave me the help that I needed.
Golf Digest and the 8 Ways to a Better Golf Game video will help you improve your golf game. If it doesn't, cancel the subscription and keep the video free.
Reading Golf Digest helped me get rid of my fade.
I can drive the ball greater distances.
Golf Digest took me from a 15 handicap to a 6 handicap.
Golfers everywhere have actually improved their game by reading Golf Digest and watching the video. They know a subscription to Golf Digest is a must for anyone who wants to be a better golfer.
It really helped me to understand the techniques and the skills of the game. I think it has articles that will help everybody.
So call 800-522-5333. If your game doesn't improve, we'll send you the video and a year subscription for free. We guarantee it.
There is no way you cannot improve your golf game. The only thing you lose out of this deal is a few strokes.
The big boys can crank it. NHRA Racing brings you pedal to the metal, full throttle, start to finish excitement. It's pure power, baby. Pioneer Electronics Racing action this week on this regional sports network.
Welcome back, everybody, to Jennerstown, the AC Rapidfire 400, the championship for the American Speed Association. The flags are poised. The cars are still circling, and it's going to be very interesting right off the start here. because Brian Refner's situation is exactly what, Rob
Extremely
Albright?
interesting. These drivers, Brian, get points for having the car on the grid at the right time, having flags in their pit area. And Brian, I think, has collected those points here this weekend.
Even for the autograph session.
Even for the autograph session. If he leads one lap of this race, he shuts Mike Eddy out. Can you imagine how important the first lap is going to be today? And Mike has to know that. He knows he's got to beat Brian Refner around for the first time, and we're just about half a lap away from the start of this race.
If that indeed happens and the championship story is put to bed very early in this race, we still have no lack of activity to report on for you here today, because first of all, of course, there's bragging rights for winning the last race of the season. That done last year by Glenn Allen Jr. here at Jennerstown. And of course, the championship battle for third place on back is going to be tight. We're getting ready to go green here as they come out of the final turn. Watch the inside there, Brian Refner, and watch Mike Eddy run him hard. Eddy already jumps around to what he hopes will be the lead. If he can just get the corner of that car in front of number 5, he'll at least keep Brian Refner at bay for the moment. Mike Eddy clearly with the lead out there, and it looks as though he will keep Refner from leading that first lap at least right away.
What a surprise that Mike Eddy would lead lap number 1. Right, Brian? Oh, man. He's going to give it all he's got today. Refner now in jeopardy of losing second position as fourth starting Bob Seneker. The high line apparently working the best in the first few laps of this race. He'll wrestle second away from the Ford of Refner.
In the 7 times that we have been here to Jennerstown Speedway, Mike Eddy has earned the pole twice and has won this race 3 times. When we visited in the spring, it was Bob Seneker that won from the pole, and only those 2 drivers have more than 1 victory at the Jennerstown Speedway.
Mike Eddy is so good here. It is a driver's track. It is a handling racetrack. And he always comes prepared. In fact, Tom Jones in the driver's meeting said, this is the first time I've been at a race early this season. He said, I even beat Mike Eddy to the racetrack. And that's one of the things that marks Mike Eddy as the championship guy to chase every year, is that he is always showing up at the racetrack completely prepared to go racing. Doesn't bother him a bit whether there's practice or qualifying.
Well, the only 2 guys that have multiple wins at Jennerstown are running 1 and 2 right now. A little bit further back in the field, the number 7 car, Gary St. Amant. St. Amant sitting 6th in points. He's trying to hold off Mike Miller because, at least in the points battle, because the 2 of them are only 11 points apart. The car challenging him right now is the number 53 car, again, traditionally driven by Scott Hansen. It is Steve Carlson from La Crosse, Wisconsin, this week behind the wheel of the AFCO Wisconsin Aviation Chevy Monte Carlo.
And if you're wondering why, Scott Hansen, the points today will go to the car owner, not necessarily to the driver. So Jerry Gunderman, who owns this race car, 8th in points. And if Carlson has a good run, which he's a talented race driver, it's expected that he will still maintain that strong position in the point standings. Hansen, on the other hand, has elected to go elsewhere to race, and he disappointed a lot of people in making that decision.
Still up front, Mike Eddy and Bob Seneker. Third place is pole sitter Brian Refner, who, again, needs to lead a single lap to wrap the championship. And if he does not lead a lap, well, there's a whole lot of complicated math at play there. And, of course, for Mike Eddy, the only chance he has of winning the championship is to win the race and hope that the rest of the chips fall in his favor. Seneker second, Brian Refner third, then it's Gary St. Amant, and the 53 car of Carlson in 5th spot. Behind him, it's Glenn Allen Jr., then the 33 of Brad Loney, the 18 of Mike Miller, and then Tony Raines in the 87 car. They've pretty much stayed in the same order that they started, except for the front 2.
And you kind of have to wonder, most of these drivers have been here more than once, and they keep very accurate records of chassis settings and what springs and shocks they use each time they come here. And I asked several of the drivers, since you didn't get any practice or qualifying time in yesterday, will you come with the same setup that you had in June when we ran at night? They said absolutely not. The conditions are more like they were last fall, so we don't use the June numbers, we use the numbers from last October. And so far, it appears that, most of the drivers strong in the points and up front are going to be able to hang in and run a while before they have to come on pit road. Though Mike Eddy now is beginning to separate himself from second place Bob Seneker.
Well, we don't see anybody with what you'd call a dog-slow car out there. No one has noticeably headed towards the rear. There are gaps beginning to open up on the racetrack. One of them, of course, from first to second, Mike Eddy stretching it out over Bob Seneker. Seneker, of course, known for his sort of tactical way of just kind of hanging out and watching everybody and seeing what they're doing. Watch for Bob Seneker late in this race. His chances of a championship, of course, are nil. He is currently fourth. What he needs to do is to try to stay ahead of Brad Loney, who only trails him by 10 points in a battle for that fourth place spot in the championship points.
Just saw a good battle for 6th and 7th positions between Glenn Allen Jr. and Brad Loney, and it looks like Loney has a good setup. Remember, these two drivers from a year ago finished 1st and 2nd in this race.
Once again, most of the points battles are exactly as you're seeing them on the racetrack. A battle for position is also a battle for the final points in the 1995 season.
These cars congregated together for position behind Gary St. Amant. There's Steve Carlson in the 53. They're putting laps on, or a lap on Alec Pinsonneau, the Canadian driver, and Dave Anspaugh, car number 37. St. Amant really getting some pressure now from Carlson. Steve started back in the 8th position, Brian. He's already up to 4th and really heating it up with St. Amant for that 4th spot.
In this shot right here, you can see some of the gaps on the racetrack. The biggest gap is probably from Dave Sensma, the number 4 car, back to the 6 of Rick Beebe. And that would be for about 10th place or so on the racetrack right now. So it is Sensma hanging on to the tail end of the lead group. Brian Refner is having some kind of a problem. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen for a report on Refner.
Well, the championship fight has already took its first turn. We've got Les Bach here, the crew chief for Brian Refner, and they're having a little trouble with radios too. Les, what's the matter with the car? Pardon? What's wrong with the car? We're having a problem with the power steering right now. He says he doesn't have any power steering, so I don't know what we're going to do with it just yet. Ride it out for a while and see what happens. And Rob, as you know, that means more than just making the steering difficult. That affects how the car handles because they set the cars up to run with power steering. If you don't have power steering in the car, your setup basically goes out the window.
Yeah, good point, Ralph. I know at Toledo we mentioned this. If you weren't with us for the Toledo race, Mike Eddy runs without power steering by choice, but it means that he sets his car up differently. He knows it's going to be harder to turn. He has much more positive steering. In other words, less motion on the steering wheel creates a greater directional change. The drivers with power steering have a little more free play in the steering wheel. It affects the caster and camber of the wheels and tires. That is how they're towed in or towed out. And obviously, Refner sets his car up to run with power steering, so he's got a handful right now.
Brian Refner fighting an ill-handling car. The first arrow has been sent his way in terms of the championship. Number 1, he did not lead a lap.
And Brian, he is slow coming off turn number 2. Brian Refner almost to a stop coming off the second corner.
He's definitely got a problem now that's more than power steering. He could have a tire going down or something. We cannot see the right side of the race car. Flat right rear tire. Just saw a little smoke coming off the back of the right side there of Refner's car, and he has come to a halt. He's trying to wait for the traffic to go by to duck down onto pit road. He has already passed the entrance to pit road now, so he's really got problems. He is going to lose a lap in a big hurry here.
And he's got to be wondering if he might not have been better off to run hard, as the yellow is displayed by Mike Dimmitt in the flag stand. Refner might have been better off to run Mike Eddy hard to try to lead a first lap. Now, this doesn't mean that his championship is down the drain. He still, if he gets this fixed and gets back out on the racetrack, needs to have 7 or 8 cars drop out of the race before he does.
Well, he has lost a lap by my reckoning here. The leaders have gone by him, and now he is circling still very slowly around the racetrack. He will get down onto pit road right now, nursing that car along, not wanting to do any additional damage from that flat tire. We all know that you can tear up your own car in a hurry running with a flat tire. Let's go to Ralph again.
Well, there's a big problem with the right side, as you said, Brian, and there's some question that maybe it's more than just a tire. Now, take a look at this. One of Mike Eddy's crew members, Greg Dean, going around to help lift the car up into the air so that Refner's crew can get in there and take a look at it. So they will change the right side tires. The question is there any damage inside the rear suspension area? And that's where Les Bach and the boys are looking at the car. There might have been a problem maybe with a panhard bar or something. Doesn't seem to be. They're going to put a new right side rear tire on and get him back out as quick as they can and discuss this problem. And a brake caliper comes off the car. So he has no rear brake right now. There's one down here on the ground smoking real bad. So he's got serious problems. You can see it right here, all the smoke coming off of that. So there's definitely something wrong inside the rear of that car. We'll try to get a word with Les Bach here in a second.
Well, you've got to love the ASA for Greg there, the gas man, Mike Eddy, runs over to help lift the car. Those are the two guys in a championship battle right now. Let's take another look here, and we'll be able to see this tire going away for Brian Refner. Maybe it was caused by that brake caliper.
Certainly could have been. It could have punctured the tire and come apart right there going into turn number 1. You can see him on the speed shot. He has already gone by in turn number 1. And we'll look from a little different perspective. And that's him down at the bottom of the racetrack. Almost loses control of the race car. Look at Glenn Allen going high. Steve Carlson going beneath the black and yellow car number 5. And I'll tell you, the drama continues as Brian Refner comes back on pit road.
Well, and apparently, again, we've done so much math on this. Now, we saw 2 cars go down a lap early. That was Pinsino and Dave Anspaugh. So that would put now Brian Refner perhaps 1 spot ahead of those guys, although now they're going past him while he's in the pits. So right now, Brian Refner is 37. And if he does not lead a lap in the race, which seems very unlikely right now, he must finish 32nd or better. So we have a math game going on right now. Brian Refner's got to hope for some attrition. He's got to be able to make up some spots on the racetrack after his early problems here. What an afternoon. This could have been over with by now. The championship could be over right now, but instead we've got a battle. Let's go down to Ralph real quick one more time.
Well, they're about ready to get Brian Refner out of the pit area here because they're trying to keep him on the same lap as, well, actually he's 1 lap down, so they're trying to keep him from going farther down. So they're going to get him back out. No. Now they're saying, no, they're not going to let him back out. They got the car up in the air. They put some brake fluid in. They're still working on this brake on the right side. They dropped the car, and now they got fluid spilling out. So things are going from bad to worse here for Brian Refner. Working on tightening up some of the brake lines. They're going to get rid of the right rear brake is what they've done. So it looks like he'll have just brakes on 3 of the tires as opposed to all 4.
You know, you wonder, Brian, how could this happen? You know, they have been so prepared. There's just some things that you don't know. They've checked everything. There's nothing else they could have done.
Man plans, God laughs.
Absolutely.
And Mike Eddy leads the AC Rapidfire 400 while points leader Brian Refner is suffering his misfortunes. We'll return in a moment.
AC-Delco knows that as a car gets older, its engine runs rougher. So we developed a spark plug to help bring back new car feel. Introducing Rapidfire from AC-Delco. It makes an engine idle up to 27% smoother and accelerate with up to 18% quicker throttle response. New Rapidfire. It'll have the competition shaken. Western Auto and Western Auto's Parts America. Serious parts, serious savings.
We could make our new jet ski watercraft perform like everybody else's, but first, we'd have to slow it down. The new 900 CXI.
Just a moment ago, Mike Eddy leads, Bob Seneker in second spot, Brian Refner up to speed, and certainly one of the things that Refner's crew had to deal with by removing that caliper, they lost some fluid. They also had to plug that line, so they needed to make sure the brake system was sealed back up again, and so that he could get back out there. Having brakes on only 3 of the 4 wheels, not a big problem here. It's the front wheels that do most of the work. The rear wheels just take up a little bit of the slack in terms of braking, as we know, and as you know, Rob, they dial in a lot more front brake than rear. Well, now Mike Eddy, things have certainly gone his way. We have to remember a year ago when he was in a championship points battle with Butch Miller, and things did not go his way here at Jennerstown. Let's go once again to Ralph Shaheen.
Here's a look at that brake caliper. Les Bach's crew chief for Brian Refner's with me. Can you tell what went wrong here, Les?
No!
Well, I really don't know for sure if the tire went flat first and it took the brake caliper off or what, but we lost the right rear brake caliper, and we're running on one rear brake right now, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. Should be all right if we got enough brake pedal, if we got the air out of it good enough.
And now Brian Refner involved in another incident, gentlemen.
Well, it looked like he drove around the high side of Bob Dorstowitz's car number 14, but Brian Refner has to be going, Lord, why me? Why today? And you're going to get another look at just how close it was again for Brian Refner, the leading contender for the 1995 championship. And he sure tested those front brakes. As you can see, those front wheels locked up. Drives around the high side of Dorstowitz right behind Cindy Peterson's car number 36. And again, he had to have taken a big, big breath and held it, I think, for quite some time as he headed on down the straightaway.
An incident on the racetrack precipitated a caution flag. Now Bob Dorstowitz primarily involved in that. And while they're circling slowly to give us a chance to get another commercial break in there real quick, do a little bit of business, pay the bills, we'll be right back.
Welcome to a new way to communicate. A new source of news, information, and software available through your computer 24 hours a day. This is the official America Online Tour.
Let me show you how America Online really works. You just point and click.
You've got mail.
Hey, I've got mail.
You can send and receive email even across the internet.
I've done that. Really?
Scan the latest headline. Browse Time Magazine. Find out what's on TV with ABC Online. Look up facts in Compton's Encyclopedia. You can even explore the Smithsonian right on your computer.
My son gets help with his homework.
Call now for your free trial. You'll get free software and 10 hours of free online time your first month. America Online. It's knowledge. It's power.
And?
Okay, it's fun.
Call now for a no-obligation free trial of America Online. You'll get free startup software and 10 hours of free online time your first month. Call now, 1-800-537-0300.
Hello again, everybody. This is Fred Edelstein, host of Prime's DirecTV's Pro Football Insider, and it's with great pride and enormous pleasure that I announce I've launched a new publishing venture in partnership with the Prime and New Sport networks. It's a weekly pro football newsletter called Fred Edelstein's Prime New Sport Pro Football Insider, and I invite you to call us toll-free at 1-800-354-4315 for subscription information. Find out everything that certain guys don't want you to know by subscribing to Fred Edelstein's Prime New Sport Pro Football Insider.
We just went green here at Jennerstown, and you can see a battle for second spot now going on. Inside there is Gary St. Amant trying to put a move on Bob Seneker. Mike Eddy jumped out to a lead again and remains in front. He has led from the first lap of the race, so he's accumulating all the points he possibly can for leading laps. We would have to assume that the next goal would be for him to lead the most laps, for which he would get another 5 points, and then it becomes point differential between himself and the place that Brian Refner finishes. Currently, Refner being shown in 36th place or 37th place. We're not sure exactly which. In any case, he is either last or next to last. And Gary St. Amant looked like he was going to take over second, and his Seneker fights right back to retain that runner-up spot.
We're still early in the race, Brian. We had a wet racetrack yesterday. There's no rubber down in the racing groove. Late in the race, you're going to see the inside probably being the quick way around, but it is the outside groove that allows the car to get the run off the corners. That's why so far Seneker's been able to hold on to second. Now Gary must contend with Glenn Allen Jr. for third spot.
Well, he had a little wiggle there. He got apparently outside there where you're saying there's not much of a groove laid down. Gary St. Amant caught on the outside. Glenn Allen trying to put a move down on the inside. Let's go one more time down to Ralph Shaheen, who might be able to put a period on the situation with Brian Refner. Ralph?
Just to update you, Brian, they did bleed the brakes during that last pit stop for Brian Refner, so they did confirm that he does have one brake working in the rear section, that is on the left rear tires, and the front tires both have brakes, so he's got 3 out of the 4 working now.
Here are a couple of guys that kind of cut their racing teams together in the American Speed Association, both the sons of racing fathers, Bud St. Amant, Gary's dad, and Glenn Allen Sr., the dad for Glenn Allen Jr., but they're rivals once they go racing.
Brian Refner being shown 2 laps down to the driver who is in the car just ahead of him, and that is the number 58 car of Bill Turner in 35th place. 36th is Alec Pinsino, or last place right now on the racetrack. 37th is Alec Pinsino. Once again, Brian Refner needs to inch his way up to 32nd if he's going to have any chance of winning the championship. We will dissect the points and do the math for you. The Know-It-All brothers are on duty. Torch is up here. We got Porch with us, and so trust us, we know it all, or at least everything we need to know.
Continue to watch this battle for third position between Gary St. Amont's Ford Thunderbird, the Wins machine, and Glenn Allen Jr. in that Eaglewood Construction CarQuest Pontiac. By the way, Glenn Allen has confirmed this week he'll be racing for Bill Papke in car number 99 in the Busch Grand National Series next year. That's the car that was driven by Phil Parsons this season.
Oh, Mike Eddy going into the pits, car smoking.
Can you believe this?
Unbelievable.
What drama.
Well, now, so of course that shifts the balance, and he's going behind the wall. He is going behind the wall. The day is done. Shades of 1994. He almost takes out one of the ASA officials there. They were totally surprised by his presence. There's Ralph Shaheen on duty. Brad, the cameraman there, and Jimmy, they're all right there with him. Let's go down to Ralph. I would have to assume he's ready or standing by with a report on Mike Eddy.
Well, Mike is unbuckling his helmet. We'll wait till he gets that off so we can get in here and find out what happened to it. Mike, unbelievable. Did you have any idea you were going to have a problem with the motor? Was it showing any signs?
No, completely right out of the clear blue. Just broke.
Any idea what it was that went in the motor?
Well, the way it did it, I don't know, I think it dropped the valve.
Unbelievable. Mike Eddy, as you said, Rob, the most prepared of all the teams, one of the best engine programs in the business, and his season is over.
Well, and it looks like the two GM Goodwrench drivers at the top of the heap in their respective divisions, Dale Earnhardt in NASCAR, Mike Eddy in ASA, two of the best racers in the nation. Both will have to wait for another year, it appears, for a championship, an 8th title.
Neck and neck battle between those two. We started out the season talking about the two Goodwrench cars and Winston Cup and the American Speed Association and how their stories were very much parallel. We'll have that story to open our season with again in 1996. So we shift our attention right now back to Brian Refner, whose chances of a championship appear to have gone right. His stock has risen immediately back to the top again with the misfortune of Mike Eddy. And it is like last year. We talked about this with Butch Miller and Mike Eddy, and then Mike went in with a problem late in the race and handed the title over to Butch Miller. We settled back and watched an excellent race that was won by Glenn Allen Jr. And now as we watch the race, we talked about young guns who have risen to stardom in the American Speed Association. Well, 4 or 5 of them are right there in the front right now. Gary St. Amant racing alongside Glenn Allen Jr. behind new race leader Bob Seneker. And then it's Brad Loney back there in 3rd spot going after Tony Raines. They're all right with us.
Raines has really picked up several positions. We've been chronicling Brian Refner and Mike Eddy. Tony Raines has come from 9th on the starting grid, now to run in 5th right behind Brad Loney. And Steve Carlson, meanwhile, in car number 53. There you can see him at the tail end of this lead pack. He's slipped back several positions.
Our executive producer, John Petrie, picked Tony Raines to win this race early today. Actually, late yesterday, named Tony Raines as his pick for this event. And John has gotten to be pretty insightful here lately, so we might just have to pay attention to that pick and watch Tony very carefully.
To me, I think Tony Raines is probably the guy that I would say, as we conclude 1995, would be, if not the favorite, one of the top 2 or 3 favorites to win this ASA championship next year. This was a new affiliation with crew chief Howie Letow this year. There you've shown him in 5th position. He's had a couple of mechanical problems, but of late. But I think of the last 8 or 9 races, this car has been consistently the fastest. Of course, he did win the road race at Topeka.
That was his 2nd career victory. Mike Eddy, the misfortune for just the man who sets the standard for all of the drivers in the American Speed Association and has for as long as anyone can remember. And one more time down to Ralph Shaheen for a final report perhaps on the Mike Eddy situation.
Well, the crew is already backing up here, Brian, and they won't be able to know for sure about the drop valve until they get back to the shop with the motor. But I can tell you that was a brand new motor that Mike had saved just for this race. So even sometimes preparation can get the best of it.
I have to ask the question, Rob, and it may be a dumb one, but I'm going to ask it anyway. would they be able to change an engine in this long race that's going to go well over 3 hours, get back out there and finish some laps? I mean, who knows? Refner might end up being a DNF. Next thing, they're able to change engines out here pretty quick. I know Mike Miller's crew has been able to pop an engine in and out in 45 minutes under duress. Would they take that risk, change an engine, get back out for anything?
No, they're done. Crown is Refner's. Enough said there.
Okay.
Car number 07 that you're looking at right behind Tony Raines came from 24th at the start of this race to 8th position as Billy Turner has spun on the backstretch, bringing out a caution. And that's a guy, Todd Forbes, that you were just looking at in the 07, the Maisto Yoder Ford machine, that really has had some strong runs this year. We've seen him like this over and over again and then have a mechanical problem late. By the way, we would like to congratulate his car owner, Noah Yoder, who became a grandpa last weekend, Chandler Page, as Billy Turner now gets the number 58 righted and will run a couple more laps under yellow.
Well, Todd Forbes running well at the Milwaukee Mile this year, I believe it was, when he went into the infield and up in flames. If my memory serves me correctly, it was at one of the larger speedways. He's had some very good runs, as you said, but he's had equally bad luck in the American Speed Association season here in 1995. So it's good to see Todd Forbes heading towards the front. We're going to take another break here from the action at Jennerstown Speedway. The AC Rapidfire 400 well underway, but a long way from over.
It's a funny old business. I've had years when I thought I should have won and didn't. And I had a year when I didn't think I would win and I did. So you got to be prepared with the best car, the best people, and Goodyear Eagles. The only tire to have if you want to win the championship.
Goodyear, number one in racing, number one in tires.
Goodyear Eagles, I can give you a million reasons why. They're the best tires in the world.
The Stock Car Cafe. Is it a stock car racing museum? You bet. Do famous drivers really come in there?
Yes, sir. We love great food, too.
It's the best in casual dining, in a family atmosphere, with some of the greatest racing fans in the world. And you might just make some new friends while you're there. The Stock Car Cafe, Charlotte, North Carolina, and coming soon to the rest of the world.
In business, a lot can happen. If you want to keep up every week, you have a choice. Not Forbes, not Fortune. You can read Business Week, or you can read a week of the Wall Street Journal. Either way, you'll find out all you need to know. The question is, how much time are you willing to spend in the process? Business Week is designed for busy people. One look at the cover and you'll know exactly where to turn inside. A quick scan of the contents page and you'll have all the events of the week that interest you.
Now is the time to subscribe to Business Week, because right now you could get 28 issues of Business Week for the low rate of $25.95, a savings of almost 69% off the cover price. And with your paid subscription, we'll send you this compact cordless data bank free. Here's how to subscribe.
Call 1-800-608-6611 for 28 issues of Business Week for just $25.95. That's 1-800-608-6611.
Perhaps a little bit of local politics being played here. That is a banner that flies right in front of the mayor's house of Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. Terry Peterson wishing good luck to Tim Sauter and driver of the Tony's Pizza car number 02. Gee, I wonder if that was bought and paid for. A little political contribution, maybe?
And I couldn't tell if that was actually the mayor there standing on the porch. He's bundled up, of course, for the cold weather here in Jennerstown and the Laurel Highlands of western Pennsylvania. We're enjoying the championship race here, although the championship has now apparently and officially been wrapped up. It was unofficially wrapped up by Rob Albright here just a few moments ago, and he tersely commented that we can stick a fork in Mike Eddy because his chances are history.
Just unbelievable the way this thing has, unfolded, and now these guys can just go racing. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have a lot at stake. Why is Gary St. Amant running Bob Seneker so hard? Well, I can tell you, because right now, Bob Seneker is 4th in the points, Gary St. Amant is 6th in the points, and he wants to lead some laps.
34 points separate those two. That's maybe 10 spots on the racetrack when it's all said and done. But you've got to chew on that elephant one little bite at a time, and if he can get around Bob Seneker and try to set sail, hope that Seneker heads towards the back, Gary St. Amant can move up a couple of spots in the point standings.
And with the Mike Eddy and Brian Refner. We've just seen Tony Roper in and out. Boy, has he had bad luck mechanically this season.
Brian Refner heading very definitely back towards the front of this race here, in spite of having only 3 brakes. Well, the brakes are there to slow you down, not speed you up. He seems to have no trouble speeding up. So a little bit out of this picture right here, the race for the lead, is Brian Refner, who is definitely on the racetrack, moved towards the front. He is down, as we said earlier, though, several laps.
All 3 of the drivers setting the pace here. Bob Seneca, Gary St. Amant, Glenn Allen Jr. with victories this year. Right behind them, waiting for an opportunity, is the 4th place car, Brad Loney. He has a 2nd place finish, has been strong all year long. 5th in points coming in, has not yet won a race. There he is, that Winnebago Flex Steel Chevy. And a good battle for 9th position, and that is on the outside, Steve Holzhausen. And how many drivers have been behind the wheel of Jim and Deb Daly's car number 2, the Justice Brothers Gillen machine? This weekend it is Steve Holzhausen, who certainly has proven his mettle as an ASA driver, and Steve Carlson subbing for Scott Hansen is backpedaling in car number 53.
The number 2 car, of course, picking up a victory in the only non-televised race for the 1995 season, Minnesota State Fair. Bobby Gill wheeled the Jim Daly car into victory circle there, and negated his opportunity for a run at the rookie title for 1996. You win a race, you aren't a rookie anymore, they say.
You can see that number 31, that white and purple cars were again under caution for Bill Baird, who was spun coming off turn number 2. You were looking at Rick Miller, who was a regular here at Jennerstown Speedway, come from about 14th, I think, at the start to run in 8th position. He wanted us to say hi to his bride, Sherry. They're celebrating a 12th anniversary today, so congratulations, Sherry.
Bill Baird with apparently a no damage, no harm, virtually no foul spin out there on the racetrack. Brought out a caution. That'll bunch the field back up again. A gap had opened up on the racetrack, actually, among the first 7 cars back to 8th place, and then we saw the battle for 9th. We'll be back here to Jennerstown and continue the AC Rapid Fire 400. The championship is wrapped up, but the victory is far from being over.
My grandfather was already an old man the first time I went fishing with him. My dad whispered, "Watch him cast." And I watched that line go out like a soaring bird. "Where'd he learn to do that?" I asked. "From his father," my dad said. "And from Field and Stream." And so it's been since 1895, when Field and Stream was first published.
And now you can continue the tradition with this special TV offer. Call now and get 15 issues of the best in hunting, fishing, and outdoor recreation, plus special news specifically for your area, all for this great price. Order now and you'll also get this great-looking heavy-duty Field and Stream field bag.
Just the other day, I took my boy fishing for the first time.
Call this number now for a great price on Field and Stream and get this roomy, sturdy field bag free with your paid subscription. Call now.
Get the inside scoop, the division news, and dish out the winner. All the news from your favorite pro teams on DirecTV's Pro Football Insider with Fred Edelstein. Every week on this regional sports network.
The AC-Delco Challenge Series, the premier short track racing series, has joined forces with Short Track Racing Magazine, the premier publication geared to short track racing fans. For subscription information, call them at 1-800-468-7876. Short Track Racing Magazine, your friend. Getting ready to go back green here. Bob Seneca clinging to the lead in spite of the best efforts of Gary St. Amant to take it away from him. Glenn Allen Jr. and Brad Loney going at it there in 3rd and 4th spot. And then it's Tony Raines, Todd Forbes with a great run here, Mike Miller, and Steve Holzhausen behind the wheel of the number 2 Jim Daly engine.
Way too early to say that we have a dominant car here. Gary St. Amant has continued to work all over Bob Seneca without being able to successfully complete that pass. But it looks like, Brian, that both Glenn Allen and Brad Loney may be faster than the 2 Fords in front of them.
Well, it's a long race, however, and a lot of these guys need to be patient. I think even the young drivers in this American Speed Association AC-Delco Challenge Series have learned that you don't win the race in the first few laps. You've got to wait and hang around and be there at the end like Bob Seneca seems to always do. He won this race from the pole last year, but he by no means led from start to finish.
You with so few of these drivers, I know like Brad Loney, several of the others didn't get any laps yesterday. Are you surprised that 74 laps in, and with all these cautions that we've had, that nobody has yet elected to come on pit road among the leaders?
And I didn't mean Bob Seneker had won this race last year. I mean he won last time we visited, which was back in the spring. Glenn Allen Jr. wheeled into victory circle here at Jennerstown, picking up his first career victory, and he has his second career win here in 1995. He will be moving on, as we said, but the word is that Brian Refner will be back for 1996 with the ASA. And let's go down to Ralph Shaheen. Is there some celebration already going on?
Well, here it is, Brian. They've got the 1995 champions flag. They're getting set to raise that up over the Jennerstown Speedway, and I got crew chief Wes Bach with me. Boy, the way this thing looked earlier, I didn't think you guys were going to get a chance to raise that flag. It must feel great.
Well, you know, it wasn't looking good right there at first, but, you know, I guess sometimes, you know, when we have bad luck, it seems like everybody does, and, you know, we're really happy right now. This is just great.
Have you had a chance to radio it into Brian?
Yes, we have, and he's pretty happy right now.
Congratulations, lad. Thank you.
Well, we can add a little bit of punctuation to that. We are now showing Brian Refner in 31st place. So even if Mike Eddy was still out there, Refner would have done the job to move up to the 32nd place necessary to take the championship. You're looking at the 1995 Hooters Super Cup points champion, sophomore sensation, and I think we can say that, Brian Refner. He has not done it in a sensational way. He has done it very much like a veteran. He has been very methodical. He took over the points lead about halfway through the season, and he has not been headed since.
And they have done it, Brian, without major corporate sponsorship. Not to take anything away from the local Ford dealer, the folks from BMW or STI, but, you know, they don't have the big national name on the race car, the company that could step in with the big dollars. And I know that Brian has been an integral part of the day-to-day operation of that race team. He is, you know, we talked to Les Bach, but not to take anything away from Les. Brian is the guy who pretty much calls the shots day-to-day, you know, in that shop. And it reminds me a lot of Johnny Benson and the way he did it in 1993, winning his championship.
Back up front, Bob Seneker, of course, absolutely calls the shots. In fact, my first association with the American Speed Association was at the banquet for the end of the 1993 season, where Bob Seneker, who had been given the Hard Luck Award, got up there and said, well, I've got to blame the crew chief, I've got to blame the driver, I've got to blame the head mechanic and the car owner, and all of them is me.
Pretty apropos, I would say. There's Todd Forbes working on Tony Raines, and I think that's for 7th and 8th positions on the racetrack. Again, Forbes having a strong run. Won a pole here a few years ago, his only career pole position right here at Jennerstown. Lap on the doctor, Dave Anspaugh, PhD, school principal up in Michigan. Dave has missed a few races this season. We'll see him back here at Jennerstown this weekend.
Looks like the number 2 car moving towards the front there. I believe Tony Raines is running in 5th spot, Forbes 6th. Then it's 7th place there is the number 2 car with Steve Holtzhausen. 8th is Mike Miller, who started 7th, now running 8th. He had been back in 9th, so he's just kind of hanging around. There's some pretty interesting racing going on out there. And once again, a lot of the racing for position on the track is also a race for final position in the Hooters Super Cup point standings behind champion Brian Refner.
Holtzhausen, by the way, in that yellow, red, and blue car number 2, the Justice Brothers Gillen machine, started way back in 27th position.
They've certainly run to the front. Here's still a battle for the lead. Gary St. Amant is just working on Bob Seneker, but just can't seem to get the job done. And Bob Seneker fighting a little more tenaciously for the lead in this race than he might otherwise. We've seen him sort of concede the lead at times, but he too is needing every point he can. He wants to not only lead laps, which he has done, but lead the most laps, which would give him points. The guys behind him are Brad Loney and notably Gary St. Amant, 2 spots back in the points battle and 1 spot behind him on the racetrack, doing everything he can to get around.
Right behind them, though, is without question at the moment the fastest car on the racetrack, that Yoder Maisto Ford Thunderbird of Todd Forbes. We've been talking about him, but deservedly so. Started deep in the field, 24th at the green flag, has come to 3rd position, and look at him reel in St. Amant and Seneker.
Well, he's working well on the inside. St. Amant looks like he might have Seneker out there, but every time Bob gets the better drive off the turn and is able to hold the lead into the next set of turns. And Gary St. Amant unsuccessful in getting around. You know as soon as he does that Todd Forbes is going to be trying to do exactly the same.
Todd's car works in the absolute lowest groove on the racetrack. St. Amant has tried to use that same line unsuccessfully to make the pass of Seneca. And now what's Gary thinking about, do you think, Brian? Is he more worried about passing the blue car in front of him or fending off the 07? And look who now has come to fourth in car number 2.
Well, it depends on whether Gary St. Amant is looking at the big picture or just a lot of little ones. The little ones would be, of course, the victory here today, the big picture, the points battle. It's unclear. You know, we'd have to really go back and check some money math to find out what's worth. Oh, somebody up there, and that's Todd Forbes. Forbes apparently lost some traction. We're not sure if it was a mechanical problem. He is back up to speed, or nearly so, with a tail end of the car hanging off, and a great run by Todd Forbes in the Noah Yoder Maisto entry has now turned decidedly for the worse.
You can see he's lost the tail panel of car number 07. It happened so suddenly, we just kind of caught a glimpse of it, and you can see the rear panel of that car number 07, the fiberglass body part laying right in the racing groove, necessitating a caution flag. And I'm sure we're going to get another chance to look at that. It doesn't look, as he goes by our vantage point, that any tires are down. Whether or not he made contact with St. Amant or whether he simply broke traction, I'm not sure.
Well, let's see. Of course, we usually have a second look, and that is the case. There's what we saw earlier, just slowed down a little bit. And what we're seeing now, there's the tag that took off the tail section. And, of course, the spoiler, that's going to have an adverse effect on the handling of the race car. It's said that when you lose that spoiler in the downforce, the car gets a little bit loose. Naturally, you'd reckon that the rear end would be a bit lighter with less downforce. So no real evidence there of what caused it, but here we might have an opportunity.
Little like tag. Just a little bit of contact between Forbes and St. Amant. Remember, we talked about Todd Forbes using the low groove. He tried to use the high line. Didn't work, as he and Gary St. Amant made gentle contact. And obviously not St. Amant's fault, just an aggressive move by Forbes.
Well, Forbes was on the outside. Let's take another look here. The tail end of St. Amant's car just sort of tagged him in the front, and the result was the tail end of Forbes' car blowing off. It was lying on the racetrack a few moments ago. They apparently have removed it, and we should go back racing here shortly. Todd Forbes is going to have a little bit of a handling problem, I would predict now. The car will be loose.
Yeah, but do we have the best camera guys in the business or what?
And the tape guys. But Bo Gray back there in the tape room, they don't get any better than that. These guys are race fans. They're not just, camera guys. Let's go to Ralph real quick with the Noah Yoder car.
Brian, here's a look at the back section of Todd Forbes' car. This is the first he's made his way to pit road. So the problem with the tail just got ripped off when he pitted. And a big problem with the fuel, you can see it dripping out there the way the fuel line, the blow-off valve, where all the excess fuel comes out, is just dangling there. They're going to kind of wrap that up in there. That should be about the end of that. We'll see if that problem continues.
Well, Todd Forbes' fortunes turning suddenly worse here in the Maisto entry. Fuel spilling all over the place. We'll be right back.
Can your radio do this? Only one radio can give you stereo sound this big, yet is small enough to fit almost anywhere. The extraordinary new Wave radio from Bose. Press the remote control and hear sound from a radio like you've never heard before. Big, rich sound that fills the room. You hear music the way it was meant to be heard. Clear, full, incredibly lifelike. You've got to hear the Wave radio to believe it. And now you can, in your own home. Satisfaction guaranteed. Call us toll-free to learn how, and we'll deliver the Wave radio to your door. Experience big stereo sound from a radio. Call today for more information. It will make a difference in the way you listen to music. A big difference.
Harvey Penick was perhaps golf's greatest teacher. To share in his legacy, call 1-800-985-8080 and order the Little Green Video. Featuring 1992 U.S. Open champion Tom Kite and two-time Masters champion Ben Crenshaw, the Little Green Video contains more than 70 minutes of lessons, stories, tips, and drills. Rated 4 stars by Golf Magazine, the Little Green Video gives you instant access to the secrets that have helped thousands play their best. Call 1-800-985-8080. Order the Little Green Video today.
Welcome back to Jennerstown, the championship race for the American Speed Association. The AC-Delco Challenge Series champion has been crowned. Bob Seneca still holds the lead. Gary St. Amant all over him just before we came back, but now St. Amant seems to be slipping back, and here comes that 2-car.
Well, St. Amant slipped back because he got a little wrap in the back end from the 2-car. You can see Steve Holtzhausen making a little contact. It unsettled Gary's win score just enough for Holtzhausen to get by on the low side.
Looked like he's going to get them both.
If you're just tuning in, no, we didn't just go green at the start of this race. We're 100 laps in, and this is what we've had from the drop of the green flag. The championship contenders are out of it for all intents and purposes. Mike Eddy's out with a blown motor. Refner's back in the field, but look at this. 6 cars running right together on the racetrack.
Jim Daly tasted victory once already this year with Bobby Gill behind the wheel. Looking for victory number 2 now with Steve Holtzhausen. Holtzhausen's most memorable performance that I can recall at least was his wire-to-wire 400-lap victory at Anderson, where he led from green flag to checker. Now he's behind the wheel of a totally different automobile, but he's wheeling it pretty well.
He's running right ahead of the 3rd and 4th place cars. There's Tony Raines in that white number 87. That's the car that Steve Holtzhausen drove to the Anderson win and a Cedar Rapids victory in 1994. He's had a frustrating this year, run a handful of races, the first time behind the wheel of this car, and he's showing what he's made of as a racetrack.
And Seneca just does not want to relinquish the lead. He has maintained his lead, has crossed the finish line stripe in the lead every time now, in spite of Holtzhausen's efforts to get underneath and around him. Here comes Seneca, just a little better drive, crosses the stripe, and continues to tally up those laps led. And once again, points for not only leading a lap, but leading most laps seem to be uppermost in Seneca's mind here today.
This really isn't the traditional Bob Seneca style to try to run out in front and fight for the lead this early in the race. Normally when he'd get this kind of pressure, he'd back off, settle back a spot or two, and wait till later on in the going. But I guess all of these guys want to end 1995 and use it kind of as a launching pad for 1996, which we'll tell you more about later. But we're going to start the season for the first time in ASA history in Florida.
And end it there as well, we understand. So we're watching the race here, the final race of 1995, and already looking ahead to 96, where we'll open a whole new chapter in the saga of the American Speed Association and the AC-Delco Challenge Series. Jay Sauter also sneaking up in there. There's the black number 1 car just on the outside and slightly ahead of the Tomato 18 of Mike Miller there in the Funco land. Miller fighting back much like Seneca has with that inside spot, and now they are side by side. Seneca going backwards in a hurry.
Bob being shuffled back several positions. Gary St. Amant, Tony Raines have gotten by. Now Mike Miller. Jay Sauter working him hard on the backstretch in car number 1.
Tagged him just a little bit too. A little contact there. Seneca able to gather it back up. And now Jay Sauter in the number 1 car, digging down on the inside.
And Jay's one of those guys, a mystery man. He says they have not yet signed Trop Arctic for 1996. If in fact they do, he'll run the whole ASA schedule. If not, he really isn't sure. His name has been mentioned in a couple of super truck rides, but this is where he'd like to be for 1996. Let's take another look at a little bit of contact we saw just a lap or 2 ago between Steve Holtzhausen and Bob Seneca, apparently, as Holtzhausen went for the lead. Now, it was just a lap before this that Holtzhausen got into Gary St. Amant a little bit and took over second. Look at Bob get a little bit sideways, and that's all that Holtzhausen needed. And look at St. Amant capitalizing as well, as does Tony Raines, as they take over second and third spots.
It's kind of like when somebody walks up behind, taps you on your shoulder, and you turn around and go, huh? Seneca hesitated just a little bit, went up the track, lost 3 spots on the track as it stands right now. Talking once again about Jay Sauter, the West Salem, Wisconsin driver in the Phillips 66 Trop Arctic Oil Pontiac. He started in 25th place to nose his way up there among the leaders.
Just out of frame as we watch the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place cars battling behind Steve Holtzhausen, who stepped out to about an 8 or 10 car length lead. Not too far behind this group is Brian Refner, 1995 points champion, though he's several laps down, Brian, and despite the fact that he has only braking on 3 wheels, he is running really well on the racetrack. If you wonder what happened to Glenn Allen Jr. and Brad Loney, who were running 4th and 5th when we went to break the last time, they came in during that caution period and have already both worked their way back into the top 10.
Sauter just behind Seneca. Here's a race for 2nd place with Gary St. Amant, Tony Raines, and Mike Miller, because Holtzhausen in the number 2 car is pretty much checked out.
2nd, 3rd, and 4th, Gary St. Amant, Tony Raines, Mike Miller. You see Raines again looking to the low side of Gary St. Amant in that Tex America clean burn Pontiac. And the folks from Tex America, hopefully, Tony thinks will be back in force next year and help him in Equestria Championship. And I think, again, as I mentioned earlier, I think they'd sure give it a run.
Well, I kind of hope the Tex America folks are back next year, too, because they make some mighty good tortilla chips.
That, too. That's an oh, by the way, huh?
Oh, by the way, well, I'll put that at the top of my list of things that are important. Tony's priorities might be slightly different with regard to Tex America, but I got my priorities in order.
You can just see as we watch second, third, and fourth right behind them as they banged and bumped. Steve Holtzhausen has stepped out to a pretty significant lead. And Ralph, they've got to be very, very happy at this point in the Holtzhausen pit.
Well, Jim Daly is the crew chief, the car owner of this machine. You've opened up a pretty good lead here, Jim. Can you keep it up there?
Yeah, he says that Gillen Enterprises just as Brothers Pontiac is there. He knew it yesterday, and he knew it last week when we practiced at lacrosse. So he's just going to stay out there as long as we get it so we get our next yellow so we can put race tires on.
Well, I was surprised to see him in that race car this week. I was in Charlotte during the past week. Connie said I'd gotten a call from Jim Daly, and I'm sure he's going to tell me about his new driver. There's a battle for 5th position. Glenn Allen Jr., who had been in the pits to change right-side tires under the most recent caution. Now he wants a piece of Bob Seneker, and boy, Bob doesn't give up any spot easily today. Looks like Glenn Allen may have the measure of Bob, though, as they come through turns 1 and 2.
Well, Glenn Allen Jr. is the man immediately in front of Bob Seneker on the points championship. Glenn Allen Jr. coming in at about 39 points in advance of Seneker for the points at the end of this season. So, once again, battles for position on the racetrack translate pretty well into battles for the final point standings for the season.
And now, rookie runner-up, Rick Miller, and local favorite here at Jennerstown Speedway. He will try to get the best of Bob Seneker in his white and purple car number 31. An up-and-down year for Rick. Really gave Rick Beebe fits in the early stages of this season for the points championship. And he's been a real steady runner when he's been able to keep the car on the racetrack. But he's had a couple of very unfortunate incidents on the race course, and they've taken him out of rookie contention.
Well, this is the battle once again behind the leaders, talking about Rick Miller, talking about Steve Carlson. And we've got an incident here in the middle of the straightaway. Brett Bell in the 56 car pointing the wrong way on the racetrack. Down inside, also, the 13 car of Tom Harrington has suffered some problems. Alec Pinsonneau's 93 machine up there against the wall on the outside. So we have had some real wholesale spin-outs here, on-track incident. We're not sure what caused it to happen, but I can just about bet you we'll get another look at it here in a moment. There's Pinsonneau's car.
Alec, of course, was involved in an incident here in the last race last year, in the last chance race that took Tony Roper out of contention for that racing weekend. He'll get that Build-A-Mold Trim Plus machine turned around. Brett Bell, there he goes in the Ford car number 56. Brett was very optimistic today because he had picked up a new crew chief, Dennis Grossnickel, who previously had helped Rick Beebe en route to his rookie championship. Let's get another view, and you're right, we're going to know exactly what happened here. There's Brett Bell lapping Bill Turner's car number 56, and contact between the two. Look at Turner airborne, and Pinsonneau sliding to the low side, trying to avoid contact, the left rear damaged. It didn't look like Tom Harrington in that black and yellow number 13, by the way, the Pittsburgh Steelers colors. And we'll get another look from what we call our speed camera.
Well, this is the quick shot. Watch as right up against the wall comes race leader Steve Holtzhausen, who was immediately behind the 56 when it went around. That could have been a disaster for the number 2 car.
What a move by Todd Forbes. About half the field electing to go to the high side. We call this the come-and-go camera because we saw him coming. Now we're going to watch him go away. Brett Bell had to just be praying that he wasn't going to get hit and hurt as all the cars came rushing down there. Well, of course, Ralph Sheen's right there.
Well, Brett's taking his helmet off. Brett, can you tell me what happened?
Ralph, we were just trying to get a handle on things. We just kind of lost the handle there. We're a little tight. We're just kind of trying to buy our time there, and I guess somebody drove in the back of us and spun us around, and our day's going to be short for the Wonder Bar Redline Oil Ford Thunderbird.
What'd you think when that car went airborne over you?
No big deal, you know. We're just out there riding, trying to be focused on what we're here to accomplish today, and it's just unfortunate that it had to happen to us.
I can't imagine it's no big deal to see a car go flying over your hood.
Big deal for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, that'd make my day.
Racer's life, huh?
Well, while the crew of the 56 car, the Wonder Bar entry, goes to work there in an effort to get them back into the race, we'll take a little pause for the cause and be right back.
What is California Gold? The finest cleaners, polishes, and finish restores. Carnauba wax protects and shines. Easy to apply, looks great.
California Gold. There's no shine like Mother's.
Yamaha makes a four-wheel drive ATV for everybody. Almost everybody. But with the most versatile line of four-wheel drive ATVs to choose from, you'll find a rugged, reliable Yamaha made for you. It figures he'd pick the Big Bear.
Check out the finest action from the hottest sport around the world and get the latest from the finest players on the tour. The IBM ATP Tour Highlight Show every week on this regional sports network.
125 laps out of 400 scheduled here in the AC Rapidfire 400 championship race of the American Speed Association are in the books. Mr. Math says we got 275 laps to go, and it's hard to imagine we'd get more action in the rest of the race than we've already had. Here's Pinsonneau's car being repaired. We talked about how important that rear spoiler is and the downforce that it imparts on the car. They have put a new rear section on Todd Forbes' car. They are likewise doing the same here to Pinsonneau's. Ralph's right there with him, of course.
Actually, this one's not a new one, Brian. They're just taping the old one back together here. In fact, the one that they put on Forbes' car is actually the one that came off. They just taped it back on. Dennis Berry is in the 75. They're working on the split-fire car. Bob Dorshowitz's day is done. He's had motor problems. And Tony Roper's been back behind the wall working on motor problems on his number 10 entry as well. Doesn't look like his day's going much farther.
The only thing new about the tail sections on those two cars is that they were unattached a moment ago. Here's the replay. Oh man! And Brett Bell says that's no big deal.
Yeah, well, did Bell come down or did Turner come up? Obviously coming off the corner, and you know, it's just incidental contact.
And everybody managed to, well, most everybody managed to get around it there. There's two other cars involved. The leader, Steve Holtzhausen, got by up on the high side there. Things have shuffled around a little bit. A lot of cars came into pit. Now we see at least the front of the parade is the number 53 car of Steve Carlson, normally driven by Scott Hansen. And then J.D. Summers running second on the track right now, too.
Summers, I think, being shown by our track super team of Scorch and Torch this weekend. A lap down, Brad Loney, after an early pit stop, is running in second position. There he is behind Carlson. Carlson, of course, was on pit road early as well. Third place, I think, is going to be the number 4 machine of Dave Sensible, not too far behind the Winnebago Flex Steel H&W Chevy of Brad Loney that you're looking at right there. He, another driver that had been the subject of some speculation, but he, too, like Tony Raines, definitely committed to another season in ASA and a shot at a championship. Hasn't won a race. I think we all expected that Brad Loney would have won once or more by now, and he's been close a lot of times, including a near victory earlier this season in Cedar Rapids, tangled late in the race with Mike Eddy. He's got several third-place finishes and a couple of seconds to his credit. He would love to end 1995 with a victory here at Jennerstown Speedway. Talented young racer.
53 car out in front. Talking about our scorers, we have Torch and Porch here with us, and out of all of the races that Porch has been a party to, the 53 car, the Gunderman entry, has won half of them. So I know that at least we have one cheerleader for the 53 car out there.
Out of the 6th position, Brandon Sperling, the rookie, had that spot on the low side in car number 51. He's now getting shuffled back several positions by Tony Raines in 87, the number 18 of Mike Miller, and car number 1, Jay Sauter. They go to the high side of Sperling. Here comes Gary St. Amant. He was on pit road during this caution. We've got a battle for 5th that didn't last long as Tony Raines now creeps up on the back of Dr. Yale Conley. And that surgeon from West Virginia, boy, he's not only a good surgeon, he's a talented racer, and he's quite a salesman as he's got the Band-Aid people that are looking at his program for next season, and the Blimpie Sandwich folks that may come on board with the good doctor for 1996.
I made an observation there sort of privately that it occurs to me that anyone that's gone up and tried to kind of race for the lead in this event has found that to be not a real good idea in the final analysis. I mean, we saw Todd Forbes head for the front, and he got bit. Mike Eddy, of course, was up there. He's behind the wall with a blown engine. Points leader Brian Refner racing for the lead. He's now having to come back through the field, having lost a couple of laps. So I'm not so sure if leading this AC Rapidfire 400 is a really good idea. There's some bad mojo working up front.
Continue to look at Dr. Yale Conley, and I think that's the first time we've seen him this season with the brand new Monte Carlo body. He spent most of the year with the older Lumina, now has made the transition in the Simonton Windows Chevrolet.
Before the race, Ralph Shaheen had a chance to talk to some of the folks from Band-Aid, specifically Rex Davis, who seems to be the leader of the pack here in that effort.
Rex, can you tell me about Band-Aid's involvement with Conley Racing?
Well, Band-Aid is taking a look at getting involved, Johnson & Johnson getting involved with Dr. Conley. You know, it's kind of a natural match with Johnson & Johnson being involved with medical supplies and things like that to get involved with the surgeons such as Dr. Conley. And then getting involved in a national racing circuit like ASA, which is starting to get a lot of visibility.
Why is ASA becoming such an attractive market to all these new sponsors?
Well, I think that, you know, after you have your Winston Cup and your Busch cars, you know, ASA is right there behind them, and it's starting to draw a lot of television audience, and that helps us with our efforts in selling product, which is what it's all about.
Well, in the drivers' meeting yesterday, Brian and Rex Robbins informed all the drivers they may be in for some changes in terms of qualifying procedures because no fewer, Brian, than 20 brand new driver team combinations have contacted the ASA home office and say they're going ASA racing in 1996.
That's no surprise. Let's go down to Ralph with some more thoughts on Dr. Yale Conley.
Well, Rob had mentioned this is the first time and he thought he had seen the Monte Carlo, and that's correct. If you remember, Yale Conley tore up the old number 3, the Lumina, at Toledo, so he was forced actually to buy this car.
Giving it a good ride today. He is being shown as a lap down, but running a pretty good clip and not that off the pace being set by the leaders. There it is. Steve Holtzhausen continues, or Steve Holtzhausen, I'll be all right. Steve Carlson leading the race in car number 53.
I'm having a hard time putting Steve Carlson with that 53 car. Of course, Scott Hansen's the guy that's usually wheeling the 53 car. He's not here with us this weekend. While Steve Carlson, read my lips, leads this race, we'll take a break and return to Jennerstown.
How long does a car battery last? About this much time is put into most batteries. But AC-Delco puts in more, so our batteries last over 20% longer. Now there's the new Delco Freedom 84, our longest-lasting battery ever, with 7 years of guaranteed starts, making it the granddaddy of all batteries.
Hey, my watch.
Western Auto and Western Auto's Parts America. Serious parts, serious savings.
We could make our new jet ski watercraft perform like everybody else's, but first, we'd have to slow it down. The new 900 CXI.
NASCAR, Winston Cup Racing on TNN, the Nashville Network. High stakes, ultra-high speeds, and the men who lay it all on the line. The extreme heat of a battle, where a mistake can cost you more than just the race. Yeah, nothing can rock 'em and roll 'em like live Winston Cup Racing on TNN Motorsports. It doesn't get any closer. Watch the AC-Delco 400 live Sunday, October 22nd, 12 noon Eastern.
Just a reminder, when you need them, we got them. Big A, America's Parts Pros.
Slick's
50 protects the vital moving parts of your engine for up to 50,000 miles. Slick 50 starting your engine with that is a terrible thing to do.
Prime, serving America's great sports networks.
There's a young race fan with slightly mixed allegiances here today.
Oh, well, that's life. Can't win them all.
He's a race fan, and that's what we're looking for, these young fans out there. We'll be, of course, hearing a little bit later on from Josh Duvall in our Young Racers feature. Pretty interesting question posed for a lot of the drivers here today. We'll look forward to that a little bit later on in the broadcast. Up front is still Steve Carlson. Right behind him and all over him is the number 48 car of Joe Knott, who lost a lap earlier, and he is trying to get his lap back, of course. Should he get around the 53 car and a caution come out, he's actually 2 laps down. He'll get a lap back, not the lap.
Knott has had a pretty good year this year with Chris Bradley as his crew chief. It's been a settling effect for Joe Knott, and I'm not even sure how he went a lap down, Ryan. I didn't see that happen. You can see also in frame the red 33 of Brad Loney. He is second, and he is definitely closing on Steve Carlson.
And working the high side, Brad Loney right behind him there. Similar line around the racetrack. Loney, should he get up to Carlson, it would be a race for the lead. Once again, Joe Knott 2 laps down, trying to get a lap back, and he's very close to doing exactly that. He's nudged around in front. Can he hold on and make the move? Yes. He seems to have gotten over and in front of the 53 car of Steve Carlson, the Gunderman entry.
Now Knott will look for a caution flag, and Carlson will begin to look in his rearview mirror and worry about another red car, the one that's referred to by his publicist as the fastest Chevrolet in ASA, because he is the highest-ranked Chevy driver in the ASA point standings.
It's interesting how the fortunes of the various manufacturers have kind of changed. Chevy, of course, the dominant mark in stock car racing, and certainly in the American Speed Association for quite a few years. The predominant number of cars is still Chevrolets. We showed 17 Chevys starting this race. That is by far the majority. But it is Pontiac that has earned the manufacturer championship this year. And largely, of course, due to the efforts of Mike Eddy, who ends up the runner-up apparently in the point standings, although that's very much undecided right now. And Glenn Allen Jr., among others, who have wheeled those Pontiacs into victory lane more often than not this season.
Battle for the lead shaping up between Steve Carlson, Brad Loney, and car number 87, Tony Raines. And look at Carlson. He knows he's off the pace, and he just moves over, and I think there's something seriously wrong with that race.
Wrong with that car, because he's way low down on the backstretch side of the car and looking like coming in. Once again, we see the left side of the car, and there could be a problem on the right. Could be a problem under the hood that we can't see. It appears as though the right side down. No, there's all tires are fully inflated, apparently. He's just coming in under green, and Steve Carlson has given up the lead in a big way here.
Ricochet Ralph, despite the long pit straight, was already there. He knew something was wrong. Ralph, what's the problem?
Well, there's smoke coming out from underneath the hood. Can't tell what exactly it is. And they're talking on the radio right now, and it looks like he's unbelting himself. Steve, well, they're talking on the radio. Can you tell me what the problem was, Steve? Can you tell me what the problem was?
Motor broke. Simple as that. It's kind of like the answer I gave you about Mike Eddy putting another engine in today.
Well, you gave me 4 words, and that was 2. So yeah, even more terse.
There's a battle for the lead now between Brad Loney and Tony Raines, 2 of the guys that we're constantly talking about as the young Chargers in ASA, future champions, no doubt, with great racing futures in front of them. Brad still in his 20s, Tony Raines just in his early 30s. You get a look at the young man from Iowa, and nobody can believe it when they find out he's actually 27 years old, because he looks like he's about 20.
So Brad Loney now will pick up a few points for leading a lap. He is only separated by 10 points from Bob Seneker, and it would still be 10 laps, I would guess, because Seneker led early and has led quite a few laps. Now Loney leading a lap. They get 5 points for leading any lap of the race. So both Seneker and Loney have each led a lap. Seneker has led quite a few. Whether he has led the most laps, we'll of course have to wait until the end of this race. We're 161 laps in, scheduled for 400, and 400 it will be.
Trying to show you just how competitive this racing series is. Early in the race, when Brian Refner was having his problems, Mike Eddy was looking at a possible championship. Now, with that engine failure, he could end up maybe 6th or 7th in the point standings. That's how tight things have been this season.
Brad Loney now trying to get under Bill Baird's number 26 car, and while the pick is set by Baird, now Loney's able to get through. Baird moves over, and he had been sort of holding up Loney. Now he's kind of in the way of Raines, and Raines is going to have to wait and try to get around now. Baird moves over and allows both to pass through underneath. The courteous Bill Baird doing a super job this year. He made a quantum leap in his performances from 1994 to 1995.
And if you think he was being unsportsmanlike and holding up Loney, not so. He was on the tail end of the lead lap, so he had every right to make Loney work for that position. And Bill is operating this weekend without crew chief Keith Strump. He's not here this weekend. His father is ill. We say get well wishes to Keith's dad, but your driver, Keith, is doing quite well here this afternoon.
Loney holding on to the lead. Tony Raines dropping back a little bit to recollect himself and go after it again. Raines also needs to lead some laps out there, looking for points always. Tony Raines is in 9th place on the point standings going into this race, and the man ahead of him would be Scott Hansen. Hansen is not here, and even though the points go to the car owner, there's 60 points separating Raines from Hansen, and every point counts. We said battles for position on the racetrack translate to battles for points for the season.
Brian, these two have stretched it out. You can see daylight between themselves and the 3rd place car. He's a straightaway back. That's Dave Sensiba, who now has fallen into the clutches of Mike Miller's car number 18. So we've got this battle for the lead and then a battle for 3rd, a full straightaway back. We're going to get a view of it now. You can see just how far behind they are, and they now suddenly must contend with Bill Baird. And look at Mike Miller trying to use the low line to wrestle 3rd spot away from Dave Sensiba.
Well, this is sort of instant replay of what we saw with Raines and Loney before. Bill Baird there trying to move over, and of course he's already gone a lap down. And as he moves over and up into Sensiba, oh my, Baird lost the handle on it there as he started to move over. Looked like he might have gotten up in the marbles a little bit. Sensiba choosing to try to go around the outside, while Mr. Inside, Mike Miller, got through unscathed. Now Sensiba's got some cosmetic problem with his car, and he will have to come in and take some body work off.
What a frustrating season it's been for the 1994 ASA Rookie of the Year, Dave Sensiba. A lot of drivers would be happy with 11th in points, but in his season-long battle with Brian Refner for the Rookie of the Year, I think Sensiba would have been the favorite to finish higher in the standings this year. With Refner winning the championship, as you see parts and pieces, it's been a frustrating season for Sensiba. It was pretty apparent our guys were right on it when it happened, but here we go. The 3rd place car at this point, the Lane Automotive Western Michigan Chevy dealer Chevrolet Monte Carlo of Dave Sensiba, made a little contact with 26, Bill Baird, sending Baird backwards into the wall. And I'm not sure that Sensiba made all that much contact with Baird, more contact with the wall. Here it is again. And I think Bill was going to try to get up high to let him go by, and tail end just gets out from under Baird's car. I'm not sure that Sensiba made any contact with him before that at all.
Well, it's hard to say which happened first. Did the car get loose and slow down a bit, and Sensiba get into him, or did he get into him and cause it to get loose? So you'll have to judge that for yourself. We did have some good replays. We're under caution in any case. J.D. Summers' car parked in the middle of the racetrack. No, it's not over. J.D. Summers sitting there, obviously, with some serious problems. We'll sort it all out. We'll kind of accumulate some facts here for you and see if we can through them and find the good stuff when we come back. Here to Jennerstown.
Correct grip is in your fingers right here. I realized the importance of the back grip and help me utilize that. Put direct protect in. Direct protect keeps the grip where it needs to be.
And you know what's so good about that? As you know, it makes us a better hitter.
It's a proven fact that it's going to make you a better player.
Give yourself the pro's advantage. Call 1-800-352-2121 and get Direct Protect and video today.
You need the edge in baseball. You know, why not take advantage of it?
Direct Protect is definitely going to help the younger kids.
2 Direct Protect batting devices and an exclusive Rafael Palmeiro Terry Pendleton instructional video for only $29.95.
Direct Protect has made me a better player. It's made me a better hitter. I've got to have it.
Get the inside scoop, the division news, and dish out the winner. All the news from your favorite pro teams on DirecTV's Pro Football Insider with Fred Edelstein.
every week on this regional sports network.
The championship flag is flying over the pit stall, not of Mike Eddy, but of Brian Refner, who's pitted right next to the 7-time champion Mike Eddy, who already has to only be able to look forward to an opportunity in 1996 for an unprecedented 8th championship in a major motorsport series. He and Dale Earnhardt share the task of acquiring that 8th championship. It'll have to wait for another season.
And there is Brian Refner, the 1995 ASA champion and 1994 ASA Rookie of the Year in that Greensburg Ford
Runner-up.
PMW STI Ford Thunderbird.
He was the runner-up rookie last year.
That's right, rookie runner-up. Did I say Rookie of the Year?
Yeah.
I mean Rookie of the Year runner-up.
Well, we clearly identified Sensiba as the Rookie of the Year for 1994, and his fortunes have not gone so well. Let's go once again down to Ralph Shaheen while we're kind of hanging out here. Ralph?
We got Dave Taylor, crew chief for Dave Sensiba. How bad was the car, Dave?
The car looks like it was just cosmetic. The West Michigan Chevy dealer in Monte Carlo. We were running third, just pacing ourselves. This is a race 400 laps, and come up on a lap car. Didn't quite get to the bottom, and Dave got a piece up. And just discretion, the better part of value. Maybe we made a little mistake there, but I think we'll be all right. It's still a long ways to go.
Most of the teams went with setups from last October without practicing qualifying. Was that pretty much the way to go? Does it seem like those setups were close today?
Yeah, we modified. This kind of a setup Dave and I worked together on. When we came here, we didn't get much time on the track. We lost the motor yesterday in hot laps, changed the motor in the rain, and looks like we've hit it pretty close. We've got a way different shock combination, but I think we're liking it. We're built for next year.
There's Dave Sensiba's car with a missing left front fender now. That won't really affect the car as much aerodynamically as if the hood was missing, or as we mentioned before, the spoiler. We're still under caution here while they're sorting things out and finishing the cleanup of the latest caution flag. And we will return to Jennerstown. Trust me on that one.
AC-Delco knows that as the car gets older, its engine runs rougher. So we developed a spark plug to help bring back new car feel. Introducing Rapidfire from AC-Delco. It makes an engine idle up to 27% smoother and accelerate with up to 18% quicker throttle response. New Rapidfire. It'll have the competition shaken.
Western Auto and Western Auto's Parts America. Serious parts, serious savings.
Wins Extend Supreme Plus is a patented oil supplement especially formulated for today's high-tech engines. Extend helps increase oil life, combats engine wear, and reduces oil oxidation. So next time and every time you have your oil changed, ask for Extend, the supplement that will not void manufacturer's warranties and comes with its own 100,000-mile warranty. Extend Supreme Plus, a Win Oil Company product since 1939. Available at your quality service facility, including Firestone, Goodyear, and Grease Monkeys.
Back to green flag racing, and immediately a race for the lead, and Gary St. Amant made that pass look quite easy over Tony Raines in his 87 car, and right away another caution comes out. Harold Fair on the restart, spinning over on the backstretch.
Yeah, and Harold was hoping for a great day today. The people from Dana, he's real close to locking them up for significant sponsorship in 1996. He also wanted us to say hi to Trish Fair, who was not with us today. Trish, hello at home. And Harold had a pretty good day going. He was a lap down. He had spent some time on pit road. But boy, right after the restart, and maybe we can find out from this view what precipitated the spin. Harold Fair, the Build-A-Mold Trimplast 2000 Pontiac, car number 81. He's right in front of what we're looking at. There he goes to the high side, and I think just got a little bit loose right in front of Mike Miller and Glenn Allen Jr. Look at the smoke coming from the back of Glenn Allen's cars. He's hard on the binders. Bob Seneca goes low. Glenn slips by, and no damage done for either vehicle.
Man, I don't think you could have gotten a cigarette paper in between Glenn Allen's car and Harold Fair's facing the wrong way on the racetrack. He was motioning inside the car there a moment ago for a push. Apparently he's unable to get the car started electrically, and now the push truck is moving into position up behind the 81 car. Dave Sensiba in, and let's go down to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, they had changed tires on one side of the car when they brought him in before. Now they're changing them all the way around. That way they'll have fresh tires all the way around. They figure they can go for quite a good distance at this point. Dave seems to think that the handling of the car is okay. They're going to try to tighten up this front nose piece a little bit better and get him back out there as quick as they can.
While they work on the front nose of Dave Sensiba's car, I'm not sure where any other nose might be. We're looking at an 8th caution here. You saw the graphic a moment ago. 42 laps under caution out of 178. We are here in the championship race, the last race of the season. The silly season for some, and for some just a chance to take a break. Our Young Racers feature, what are you doing in the off season? Here's Josh.
Hi, I'm Josh Duvall, and since it's the last race of the year, we're going to ask some people what they do during the off-season.
Off-season? There is no off-season this year. We're going racing in February, and it's going to be great.
Well, we'll be taking everything apart and replacing all the wore-out parts and getting ready for going out next year.
I'm going to catch up on my sleep and see my mom and dad a little bit more. I'm getting married at the beginning of 1996.
Hopefully I'll be spending some time out west skiing.
The off-season means quality time with my wife and kids.
Thanks, guys. I want to thank everybody that rode in this year, and I want to encourage everybody to ride in next year. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm going to be at Gary St. Amont's wedding. Are you going to be there?
Well, I don't know. I what can I say? I didn't get the engraved invitation yet, but I haven't checked my mailbox for a few days either. Out of all the drivers that they spoke to there and talked about their off-season plans, Tony Raines happens to be leading the race. Gary St. Amant happens to be being shown in second spot right now, and well, out of all of them, they were among the top 10 or 11. Brad Loney currently shown in 9th, and Jay Sauter in 10th. So out of all the guys that talked about their off-season plans, they're still very much in the thick of things here in Jennerstown. 180 laps gone, 220 to go. And the green flag waving once again for Tony Raines, Gary St. Amant, and running in third spot right now, shown in third, is the number 98 car. And that is Ken Stauffer, Mr. Consistency, that we've shown pretty consistently in or just out of the top 10 throughout the season. Is third right now. He's doing pretty good.
Ken Stauffer is running third, but the battle for the lead, Gary St. Amant, and not so long ago it was St. Amant using the Tony Raines line to get around Bob Seneker for the lead. Seneker, you can see there being shown back in 7th position after a round of pit stops.
And there's the 98 of Ken Stauffer. Right behind him and all over him is Ted Smokestad, who has been really quite good in the latter half of this season here this year. He settled down and pulled in a top 10 finish. He's had some great qualifying runs. He's currently 4th on the racetrack, now slipping back just a little bit to the veteran Kent Stauffer.
I think Ted has put more pressure on himself than his sponsor had. He got off to a rocky start this year. In fact, his sponsor, Super America, said in the drivers' meeting yesterday, you know, some of our best on-air time has been when Ted crashed. Sorry, Ted, didn't mean to insult you, but the last half of this season, the time that he's gotten has been because he's run well on the racetrack. Running very well on the racetrack are a couple of rivals, Gary St. Amant and his Ford Thunderbird, the Wins machine, and the car number 87 of Tony Raines, and they're being pressured by Dr. Yale Conley a lap down in that Simonson Windows Chevy Monte Carlo, and he's trying to get his lap back. He looks very strong.
Well, Doc's got a great view of the race for the lead there, and now Glenn Allen Jr. quickly into the picture, and it looks as though Tony Raines' car has got some problems there. He's fallen back a little more enthusiastically, we might say, than the driver of that car.
Right, he's got a flat right front tire. I can see it. Ralph, you're down on pit road. Can you verify that?
Yeah, I just talked to Howie Ladow. They're waiting for Tony Raines to come around. It is a right front tire that is flat. So as soon as he gets it down pit road here, they'll get a chance to change the tires on the Baker Motorsports 79, 87, and he missed the turn-in again.
Well, I wonder if he missed the turn-in, Brian, or if he's decided to stay out on the racetrack hoping that he can get a caution before he goes a lap down.
Well, that's a big gamble, and remember I mentioned a while ago, and half jokingly, there's some bad mojo working up there when you're leading this race. I mean, there's some voodoo at work here. Everybody that's gone to the lead has had misfortunes, and Tony Raines, the latest victim of something working against anyone who wants to lead. Ralph's right there with the crew working on Tony's car.
Well, no idea why he missed it for 2 laps, because Howie Leno and the boys had the pit board up, but they will change that right front tire, and now Tony Raines will go back into the race.
And the leaders just went by the start-finish line, so he'll be a lap and about a half behind the battle for the lead, which now is between Gary St. Amant and Glenn Allen Jr.
Howie Leno and the crew got him in and out pretty quick to only go a lap and a half down after he circulated so slowly out there. He lost quite a bit of real estate on the racetrack, and boy, have the 2 leaders jumped away from this race. There they are right now, and way back in 3rd spot behind them. Mike Miller almost, well, let's say a half a straightaway back from the leader, who is now Gary St. Amant. And I got to feel a little spooky about Gary going to the front here.
And maybe he was better off not being able to get around Bob Seneca when he chased him and challenged him for so many laps earlier.
Well, and now Glenn Allen Jr. fighting for the inside line there and the lead. Of course, points. Got to talk about it again. Glenn Allen's 46 points behind Mike Eddy when they went into this race. And, of course, Mike Eddy's sitting on the sidelines after early engine troubles. He's behind the walls. And effectively, Glenn Allen Jr. has moved up into 2nd in points. No chance of taking over points leader Brian Refner. The champion has been crowned here already, figuratively at least. But Glenn Allen looking for a win, a repeat win. It would have to be from 1994. He won the last race of the season a year ago.
Off the track, these two are pals. In fact, Gary St. Amant, one of the positive influences on young Glenn Allen when he came to this series 6 years ago, was a 16-year-old, or 8 years ago. I've lost track now. But now they're rivals on the race course. And look at St. Amant trying to hold off Glenn Allen on the high side of the racetrack. Glenn does appear to have a little faster race car, but when you can't come up off the corners, when you can't allow the car to drift up and come to the high side on the straightaways, you just don't get the run off of turns 2 and 4. Now watch St. Amant. It was Allen coming off the corner first, but St. Amant battles back halfway down the straightaway.
Well, these 2 guys just working it. Door-to-door racing in the American Speed Association. We've kind of gotten used to that, but every time it happens, it's still pretty exciting. Now they're coming up on a lap car, that of Dave Anspaugh, the 37 machine there. Moves down on the low side, and both get around, but the side-to-side battle is now going to have to wait a moment or 2 to reestablish itself.
Glenn again dives right down to the bottom of the racetrack, and that's really a good sign for Glenn Allen when at the midpoint of this race, that car number 15 will work right down on the bottom. Now, Glenn was in more recently than was Gary St. Amant, so you have to believe that CarQuest Eaglewood Pontiac has a little fresher tires on it than the black and orange Wins Thunderbird of St. Amant.
Glenn Allen Jr. going back to the bottom, trying to get up alongside like he was before, and he had worked it till they came up on lap traffic. Now they've got a little bit of room in front of them, although the 36 car of Cindy Peterson maybe a dozen car lengths or so in front of the battle for the lead, so it could be another lap car entering. And look at Glenn now, works hard going in, but as you said before, the drive coming off is in favor of Gary St. Amant.
And you know, I think, Brian, the first 200 laps, the first 50% of this race, we've seen more of this at the front of the pack than anybody leading by himself. Steve Holtzhausen got a lead for a while, but every time we go to caution, it seems like things tighten up in front, and we've seen so much side-by-side racing for the top position, more than I've seen all season.
Well, just a little bit behind them is the race for third. Mike Miller's got a bit of a gap, but look at the sneaker. Bob Seneca's 84 car is there. Holtzhausen in the 2. Those guys are back in the picture again after the pit stop shuffled them up.
As is Brad Loney, Rick Miller, Kent Stauffer, and Joe Knott. Remember when he got his lap back? He is back in the hunt and just outside the top 10.
Got a lap back. They're still showing him a lap down. Right. Check this out here real quick.
Might have been a lengthy pit stop. I'm not sure because I don't remember when he did go a lap down. And again, this is 4th, 5th, and 6th. Bob Seneca, Steve Holtzhausen, and the number 32 of Ted Smokestad, and he's just not giving up anything after we've gone back to green.
Checked with the Know-It-All brothers, and a quick update from Porch. The 48 of Joe Knott is a lead lap car.
Okay.
So he's sitting 10th right now.
Wow, that would have been my 4th or 5th mistake today, so I'm glad Porch came to my defense. A rough Jennerstown.
Oh, hey, you only made one mistake earlier, and that was when you thought you made a mistake. Looking at Seneca's 84, the 2 Holtzhausen, those 2 guys going after it for the lead in this race earlier, but now they're racing for 4th and 5th place. The Tomato 18, the Funco Land Pontiac of Mike Miller just in front of them in 3rd. Let's go down to Ralph with a VO on Steve Holtzhausen.
Well, the chassis setup that Bobby Gill ran at Minnesota and won that race so decisively with is exactly what Jim Daly has put underneath Steve Holtzhausen here today. So we'll see if that same setup is going to win at Jennerstown as it did at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds.
An almost identical racetrack, Brian, about the same degree of banking, 0.5 of a mile versus 0.52, 1/100ths of a mile here at Jennerstown. But I think, again, conditions are a little chillier today, but the racetrack very similar. So that setup working well again.
Jim Daly, owner of the number 2 car, celebrated in Victory Circle when we were not televising the event. The red lights on, he might take that celebration up a notch, I would have to say, here, the championship race, kind of the punctuation mark on what has been an amazing season of drama, of ups and downs, and of course of great racing. We're constantly aware, and I hope you are too at home, of just how the one consistent theme that runs through the entire season of just about any American Speed Association championship run is just great racing and terrific action. Approaching just past the halfway mark, actually. Now we're 2:06, and looking back, we had a lot of cautions early in the race and a lot of lead changes so far.
Again, it's easy for a guy on the inside to get up to and maybe alongside a car that he's trying to overtake, but getting alongside and getting around is another matter, and that's one of the things that make weekly racing here at Jennerstown Speedway so exciting and a real crowd-pleasing racetrack. Again, Glenn Allen Jr., after letting the right side tires cool for 5 or 6 laps, tucking right in behind Gary St. Amant. Again, now he'll make the run for the lead. He's alongside, has a slight advantage coming off turn number 4, but he's really got to get more than just even, Brian. He's got to get actually at least a half car length past coming off the corner if he's going to be able to make it stick into turn number 1 or turn number 3, and it could happen at either end. Quick rundown, it is Gary St. Amant, Glenn Allen Jr. Watch this battle in the lead continue. Mike Miller 3rd, Bob Seneca 4th, Steve Holtzhausen is 5th. Running in 6th position, Ted Smokestad 6th. 7th is Brad Loney. 8th is Rick Miller. 9th, Joe Knott. Ken Stoffer rounding out the top 10. 11th is the Rookie of the Year, Rick Beebe. 12th position, car number 1, Jay Sauter. Car number 50, Eddie Sharp. We haven't said much about him today. Anything about him. He's running 13th, having a great race. Tom Jones, a winner here 2 years ago, 14th, and 15th is Dave Sensible.
3 wide.
Pretty exciting there for a minute. The crowd, I was kind of reading this list, and all of a sudden I could see out of my peripheral vision the entire stands get to their feet. I was like, uh-oh, what is happening?
Well, they sat back down again because it was just sort of a momentary. I think the Earth might have slowed just a tiny bit its rotation with the collective intake of breath here in Jennerstown there for just a moment as the 2 leaders went alongside the lap car, number 13 of Tom Harrington.
And they continue to stretch it out, by the way, over 3rd place, car number 18 of Mike Miller. So these 2 right now are the class of the field as they motor away on lap number 212.
And Allen Jr. on the inside. Gary St. Amant continues to work that high sun. Real textbook racing here. And Glenn Allen, of course, the only way he can try to make the pass is down low. But Gary St. Amant knows he's got the perfect line around the track here, and he's worked it. Here's a battle for 4th. Looking very similar as Steve Holtzhausen works the low line on Bob Seneca.
Boy, how would you like to be in the production truck trying to make the call on what we're going to look at here? Action all around the racetrack as, again, Gary St. Amant will use a lapped car as a pick to keep the lead. This time it's local favorite Glenn Gauld in the orange car number 30 that works to the advantage of race leader Gary St. Amant.
Well, I imagine that a lot of people would like to be in the production truck if they couldn't be sitting in the stands here because, of course, when you're in the stands, you can watch where you want to. And in the truck, they've got a lot of different views. They're seeing the battle for the lead and the battle for 4th, and they're seeing the lonesome 3rd of Mike Miller. Here's the race for 6th, and they're just able to watch it all and jump back and forth and kind of, at will show you at home what they think anyway, and what we agree perhaps is the best battle on the track. Here's Glenn Allen with, it looked like kind of the best opportunity there in a while to take the lead, but once again, Gary St. Amant gets over with the good drive off the turn. Allen able to accelerate in the corner, but Gary St. Amant holds him off and crosses the stripe again in the lead.
Our director this weekend is Ed Collins, doing a great job in the big chair. And he's kind of giving you the cuts. They call them the cuts when you go from shot to shot, that a race fan would be watching right here at Jennerstown. You kind of got to use your peripheral vision and watch everything that's going on, and there's so much happening all the way around the racetrack, but when there's a battle for the lead, you've got to focus on that. Torch, our scorer and expert in the booth with us, just handed me a note, and he said, this reminds me so much of a race a few years ago at Anderson Speedway between Butch Miller and Ted Musgrave, and they did this lap after lap for about 120 laps. I don't see any end to this one between St. Amant and Glen Allen. Do you?
I don't know. These two guys have been going at it for quite a while. I'm sure if we asked Torch and Porch, the two know-it-all brothers, they would be able to tell us just how long this battle for the lead has been going between Gary St. Amant and Glen Allen Jr. We got big trouble over there for the 02 car. That is Tim Sauter at the wheel of Randy Larson's Tony's Frozen Pizza Giant Eagle Food Chevrolet. And it has brought out a caution. That'll close the field up. There goes the 02 with something big problems under the hood there, trying to get a fire extinguisher there. We saw flames. And while the battle now will take a pause, Gary St. Amant and Glen Allen Jr. can both cool the tires down. We'll cool our heels for a little while and come back to Jennerstown.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I was hosting my first big business dinner, and I paid with my Visa card. Turns out I was over my limit. I was so embarrassed, I didn't know what to do. So I got the American Express card, and it never happened again.
Call 1-800-THE-CARD. We can take your application right over the phone.
Applying for the card was one of the easiest things I've ever done, and smartest. And anyone who's ever gone anywhere knows it. I have a place to cash checks, get my mail, and get help when I need it.
My dad said the minute you get a job, get an American Express card. He said, trust me on this one. I've gone everywhere with it. And here's a tip. Sign up for membership miles, and everything you charge on the card will earn you program miles, so you can keep on traveling.
So call now for the American Express card. You can apply right over the phone.
It's really worth it.
It helped not having a preset limit.
I got cash on the go.
I can call 24 hours a day. That helps.
Go anywhere, and it's with you all the way.
Don't delay. Just dial 1-800-THE-CARD.
Spartan School of Aeronautics can train you to be a pilot or quality...
A pilot?
Yes, Spartan has been training aviation professionals in Tulsa, Oklahoma since 1928. Spartan offers training in aviation maintenance, broadcast... What now?
Shouldn't you join the military for something like that?
Only if you want a haircut.
I guess you could say careers are really taking off at Spartan.
Call Spartan School of Aeronautics at 1-800-352-2121 for a brochure. That's 1-800-352-2121.
Depend on Motorola Radius two-way radio systems and the best in technical support from Atlanta Communications. Call them toll-free at 1-800-876-3184. Atlanta Communications, sponsor of Mike Miller's Tomato 18, who is the new race leader, by the way. And coming out of the pits, the crowd was on its feet once again because Glen Allen Jr. got the better stop, and he went out ahead of Gary St. Amant. But there's your new race leader, Mike Miller, the veteran driver, still looking for his first victory here in this 1995 season. In fact, his first victory since the early career. Mike Miller, back in the late 70s and very early 80s, his only ASA victory came before he took about a 15-year hiatus from racing. Here's the Noah Yoder Ford, and inexplicably just stopped in the middle of the back, or at the entrance to the backstretch, coming out of turn number 2, and he's being pushed into the pits again.
Yeah, what a frustrating day again for Noah Yoder and his driver Todd Forbes, who early in the going appeared to have a potential winner, coming from 24th to challenge for the lead before spinning, and now something wrong, maybe electrical.
Ask and ye shall receive. We asked the Know-It-All brothers. The battle between Gary St. Amant and Glen Allen Jr. had been going on since Tony Raines gave up the lead at lap 182. We're at 224. We'll be right back.
Sunday, we believe in putting on our best. Maybe that's why no car company has won more races in the history of NASCAR than Chevrolet.
When you were
work with guys like Waltrip, Petty, and Wallace, you learn that keeping a car on the road means preventing problems before they start. And that's especially true with radiators. Radiator Restorer Sealer Conditioner prevents the buildup of rust and sludge that causes radiator failure, and it stops radiator leaks in seconds. Radiator Restorer lubricates and conditions your entire cooling system, plus it's environmentally safe. Why wait till problems heat up? Use Radiator Restorer and keep your cool.
If you don't stay up with the computer revolution, you're just going to be left in the dust of your competitors.
In today's PC world, you must be PC Worldly. PC World magazine is the most important resource you can have.
Having PC World is like having a classroom on computers in your briefcase.
Call this number now to receive your first issue of PC World risk-free.
I'd recommend PC World magazine both to novice users and to highly technical people.
If you call this number now, you'll not only receive your first issue of PC World risk-free, you'll also get this unique Internet Glossary mousepad, a handy reference guide to terms and definitions used across the net, free with your paid order. If you like your first issue, pay just $19.97 and receive 11 more issues of PC World. That's 12 issues in all. Save over 66% off the cover price or cancel and owe nothing.
There's so many products out there, and PC World just helps me cut through the clutter.
Call now for your risk-free issue and get the Internet Mousepad free with your paid order. PC World is everything you need to become PC Worldly. Start today.
Welcome back to Jennerstown in the championship race for the AC-Delco Challenge Series. Another race for the lead, this time two different cars, same deal. It is Steve Holtzhausen working the inside on Mr. Inside. Mike Miller, the new leader in the Funco Land Atlanta Communications Pontiac. Pair of Pontiacs going at it. Also making an appearance down on the inside, the number 6 car of 1995 Rookie of the Year, Rick Beatty. Beatty, who had raced very patiently all season long, and after a tremendous first race of the season, when a tire cost them any chance of even getting in the race, they blew a tire in qualifying, didn't even make the field. A $50,000 tire, well, they paid for it because they have won the Rookie of the Year thing. And we were kidding earlier today, talking to Rick, said, well, Rick, now did they take that little block of wood out from under your gas pedal and turn you loose this week? He said, yeah, and they got the restrictor plate off the engine, too. I'm going for it today.
His car owner this morning, kind of tongue-in-cheek, said to me at the driver's meeting, can you lift the coverage ban of my car and driver? I said, John, I'm sorry, but your driver has turned the rookie battle into a no-contest situation, so I guess Rick has said, well, if you won't talk about me just to talk about the Rookie of the Year, I'll make a name for myself, as he's battling now with Steve Holtzhausen for second position in the best run that this car has had all year. Meanwhile, deep in the pack, Brad Loney is very quickly going backwards in car number 33. He's been in the hunt all day, and we understand he's got a tire going down. He needs a caution.
Well, and that again is going to scramble the point situation. Look at here, Glenn Allen working now on Beebe down inside. Beebe not having any of it. Holds on to third, and it was Glenn Allen that had to slow back down again. Mike Miller clinging to the lead on the outside there with Steve Holtzhausen giving him everything he wants. And Rick Beebe running in third spot, the Rookie of the Year. They've turned the reins loose on their rookie champion, and he's going after him.
Rick Miller running fifth in car number 31. Right behind him is the 1995 champion. That is Brian Refner, several laps down. And Jay Sauter, who had such a strong run all day today. And the Trop Arctic Pontiac comes to a stop, and he'll get right side rubber. Ralph.
Well, they're going to work on the right side of the car. Crew Chief Mike Chaffee waiting for tires. They had the car up, apparently did not know that Jay was coming in. He's got a right front tire, but no right rear tire. Now they bring one around, but boy, is this a costly mistake for these guys not being ready for Jay Sauter. They had to drag the tire from deep behind the transporter. They didn't even have any up front waiting for them, and nobody to bring them out. Now that tire's on as they return.
Hitting under green is never good, and when they're not ready for you, we have to wonder maybe if there wasn't a radio communication breakdown there, or whether Jay Sauter just didn't warn them, or what happened exactly. Perhaps Ralph will get to the bottom of that, but when you got a pit under green, it's not good, and when it goes poorly, it's really not good. Battle for the lead heating up there. Holtzhausen and Miller going after each other there. Holtzhausen trying to work the inside, looking for a win here for him, and Mike Miller looking for his second career win in the first in a long, long time.
And I have not seen a race this season where there are so many contenders for victory and so much side-by-side dueling for the front. And as you've alluded to, Brian, it has not necessarily been to your advantage to be the leader of the race, as we've seen problems for Mike Eddy and Gary St. Amant and several drivers while leading. St. Amant, meanwhile, is working his way back up through the pack as he came on pit road under the most recent caution. None of the 4 drivers that we're looking at did, however, and as a result, they're trying to separate themselves from the 5th place car of Rick Miller, but not having much success doing that.
Well, I'm sure that the crews down in the infield, if they pay any attention to me whatsoever, and they don't, are probably down there doing any kind of voodoo dance they can to try to ward off the evil spirits of taking the lead in this race. Miller's crew from Georgia there, of course, they're my neighbors down there in suburban Atlanta. I live in the city. They live just outside of town. Miller, the leader. Here's a replay. Gary St. Amant and Bob Seneker side by side. No lack of action here. A little bit deeper in the pack.
Wow. I think they're probably around 10th or 11th at this point, trying to work their way up to the front. And again, St. Amant finds himself side by side. For the longest time, it was Seneker, and then he raced side by side with Glenn Allen. And now he's battling with Joe Knott, who, by the way, has worked his way back onto the lead lap and in the hunt again.
Well, the know-it-all brothers know all. It's a race for 7th and 8th place between Gary St. Amant and Joe Knott. Here's a race for the lead, and now it's Glenn Allen who's come to the inside and has it cross the stripe first for the first time in this race. Glenn Allen Jr. And what happened to Holtzhausen? He got shuffled around to the outside, and it's Glenn Allen Jr. and Rick Beebe taking the inside line on Mike Miller and Holtzhausen. Here comes Raines again in the 87 car.
Brad Loney, meanwhile, was right against the wall in front of the start-finish line. A flat right front tire. It's been going down there. He is limping out of turn number 2 and down the backstretch. He was hoping for a caution. It won't save him as he'll have to come in under green, as did Tony Raines a little bit ago. Now, Tony lost a lap, but you could see him just a moment ago in that battle up front. If he can get around the leaders, he will be back in the lead lap. Unfortunately for Loney, having a limp around like this, the driver that came in 5th in the point standings and has been very much in the top 5 most of the day, he'll now go 1 lap down and very shortly 2 laps down. Ralph, how quickly can they get him back out?
Well, Brad is very frustrated. They sit behind the car. They finally get the jack under. Crew has to help pick the car up. They get that right front tire off. They'll change the tires. Now, they have a problem again with the jack, and this is killing Brad Loney even more. His crew is more prepared than was Sauter's, but with the problem getting the jack under is costing him lots of time. And still trouble now with the right rear. There he goes.
You can see the right front area of the spoiler. See where it says Lumina on the front? The right front was completely worn down, and that's because he had been running many, many laps with a soft right front tire.
Leader is Glenn Allen Jr. for the first time in this race. The race has its umpteenth leader. We'll get a count on that and run them down for you here in just a few moments. We'll be back to Jennerstown with 150 laps to go.
Discover the amazing training secrets of America's finest baseball school with Dynamic Practice Organization, a revolutionary new instructional videotape. Dynamic Practice Organization features professional scout and instructor Tommy Mansky with his famous building block approach to athletic training. This exciting instructional videotape features the same drills, techniques, and methods that have produced baseball world's back-to-back-to-back AAU national championship teams. Dynamic Practice Organization makes any coach look like a genius and organizes offensive and defensive practices that players of all ages and ability levels can't wait to attend. And immensely improves team communication skills and even conditioning. This is the instructional video that's a winner. To order your copy for only $29.95, have your credit card ready and call toll-free 1-800-522-5333. The Dynamic Practice Organization teaching video makes a great gift, too. Call now 1-800-522-5333.
Get the inside scoop, the division news, and dish out the winner. All the news from your favorite pro teams on DirecTV's Pro Football Insider with Brett. Every week on this regional sports network.
America's premier short track racing series, the American Speed Association's AC-Delco Challenge Series, wrapping up another terrific season here in 1995. We're 149 laps to go in the Jennerstown AC Rapidfire 400, and to reset things for race leader, Glenn Allen Jr. has gone to the front. He has gone to the front and is trying to belly up to the checkout counter here, I'd have to say.
And have a momentary gulp right there as he was putting a lap on car number 30, Glenn Gault, and Glenn slipped way up out of the group, Gault that is, turns 1 and 2, and almost shoved Glenn Allen way up into the marbles, but motoring away, as you said, and this is about the point, I think, last year where he took charge in this race and bested Brad Loney and Dave Sensiva to the checkered flag. Sensiba still, we haven't talked about him in a while, still on the lead lap with some body damage. It looked like in 7th position, that was indicating to me. And Loney, of course, just went 2 laps down after suffering a flat right front tire under green, but he was in the hunt up to that point.
Glenn Allen Jr., the leader. In second spot, it's Rick Beebe, but a distant second at this point. All over him is Tony Raines in the 87 car. Once again, our executive producer, John Petrie, picking Tony Raines as the man in victory circle here today. And Rick Beebe, they've given him his head, turned him loose here today, and he's running in second spot. Here's Mike Miller, who had been the leader and now is slipping back, and he seems to have older tires, and maybe he's just eased up on the number 18 Funco Land Atlantic Communications Pontiac there. And now Gary St. Amant, the only real challenger for position to Mike Miller in a while. He had been kind of all alone on the racetrack with only lap cars to contend with.
Behind St. Amant, Bob Seneker in the number 51 machine, or rather the number 1 machine of Jay Sauter, who is 4 laps down after stopping in green for fresh right side tires.
Vincento moving low on the track, also allowing the 2 lead lap cars to come by, Mike Miller and Gary St. Amant. These two haven't stopped in a while, and we would expect that the crew chiefs, once again, in addition to doing any kind of anti-voodoo dance, are probably also crossing their fingers, hoping for another caution. Get these guys in, get fresh rubber on, let them go at it in the last 100 laps or so of this race. Very patient race by Mike Miller and by several of the other drivers out there. A lot of excitement going on up front, and when Miller was there, he led pretty enthusiastically for a while and waged a battle, but quickly realized, I would have to say, that his tires were going away on it. There we saw a little bit more evidence of that. And he just kind of settled back, and much like a veteran driver, but a little bit uncharacteristic for Mike Miller, he sort of relaxed and kind of eased up out there, and maybe feels like he's going to wait till late in the race, a la Bob Seneker, to make a real move.
Of course, when we were here earlier this season in June for a night race, it was a much shorter race, and I think it called for slightly different race strategy. Don't count anybody out right now that's still on the lead lap, and there might even be a car or two 1 lap down that could still have a shot before the day's over with almost 150 laps to go, including Tony Raines, who's trying to unlap himself. He's had a heck of a time getting by Rick Beebe as he exits turn number 3. He's trying to do that right now. We're kind of going through the entire racing field, but this continues to be the best battle on the racetrack between Mike Miller and Gary St. Amant.
Talking with Mike Miller earlier today and even late last week after the race, the what if always comes up, and for Miller, he can make a very strong case for being the points leader. What if he had dropped out of the race here in Jennerstown almost before it began? He had changed an engine, changed a couple of things. His crew just worked so hard. They got a bad engine. He went out early. If it hadn't been for that, he might be the points leader right now instead of Brian Refner. Of course, if your Aunt Mary had a beard and a mustache, she'd be your Uncle Fred.
You've met my Aunt Mary. How did you know she had a beard and a mustache?
Gary St. Amant getting around Mike Miller there for that position on the racetrack now, and now Bob Seneker working inside. You got to think that there are quite a few drivers indeed that are looking for a caution here to get fresh tires.
Looking at the scoring monitor, Glenn Allen Jr., Rick Beebe running second, Steve Holtzhausen third in car number 2. Gary St. Amant now has moved to 4th in car number 7, and there's something out on the racetrack, a piece of debris, brake ducting, I'm not sure.
Will the caution flag come out? We're watching the flagman in earnest.
Yes,
there it does. They have spotted that debris on the racetrack as well. Bringing out the caution, I would have to say that we're going to get a quick break, and the drivers are going to get a break big time and be able to come in and put on those fresh tires. While they do, we'll take a pause from the action here, give you a chance to listen in on some important messages, and we'll update you when we return to Jennerstown.
Welcome to a new way to communicate. A new source of news, information, and software available through your computer 24 hours a day. This is the official America Online Tour.
Let me show you how America Online really works. You just point and click.
You've got mail.
Hey, I've got mail.
You can send and receive email even across the internet.
I've done that. Really?
Scan the latest headline. Browse Time Magazine. Find out what's on TV with ABC Online. Look up facts in Compton's Encyclopedia. You can even explore the Smithsonian right on your computer.
My son gets help with his homework.
Call now for your free trial. You'll get free software and 10 hours of free online time your first month. America Online. It's knowledge. It's power.
And?
Okay, it's fun.
Call now for a no-obligation free trial of America Online. You'll get free startup software and 10 hours of free online time your first month. Call now, 1-800-537-0300.
Spartan School of Aeronautics can train you to be a pilot or quality...
A pilot?
Yes, Spartan has been training aviation professionals in Tulsa, Oklahoma since 1928. Spartan offers training in aviation maintenance, broadcast... What now?
Shouldn't you join the military for something like that?
Only if you want a haircut.
I guess you could say careers are really taking off at Spartan.
Call Spartan School of Aeronautics at 1-800-352-2121 for a brochure. That's 1-800-352-2121.
Welcome back to Jennerstown. A scary moment there is coming off the end of pit road. We had a tire go bouncing out. There's the offending tire, the offending Goodyear Eagle right there, and being gazed on. Let's take a look at the pit stop. A lot of activity here. Here comes Jay Sauter out.
Just out of screen is Gary St. Amant. There you can see the orange nose of the Winsport Thunderbird. I think he had by far the best stop of the leaders.
Great stop for him. Good fast stop for Mike Miller, who's pitted all the way at the other end of pit road. He pops out into view. Rick Beebe, and you'll see Miller go past. Here goes Miller, already up to speed, past Rick Beebe. There's the tire being pushed around by Beebe, and it goes up, bounces off the outside wall, comes to rest in the infield. But a little bit of a scary moment there for Miller and Beebe, and Ralph Shaheen was right there in the thick of it.
Well, unfortunately, Brian, you're wrong about Mike Miller. they had a terrible pit stop because they got the tires changed on the car fairly quickly. But then, as he went to pull away, there was a tire blocking his exit from his pit stall. So the crew had to get him backed up to get him around, and the motor stalled. They had to push him to get it started. So that was very costly for Mike Miller because he came in just in front of Gary St. Amant, and now sits quite a few cars back behind him.
Well, I had watched the early part of the pit stop and then glanced away for the activity at the other end of pit road, the exit to pit road, which is where the tire was bouncing around and where Gary St. Amant was pitted. So there you have it, our man on the scene, Ricochet Ralph Shaheen, doing a great job down there in the pits. And things are shuffled up once again here. Glenn Allen Jr. stayed out, as did Brad Loney and Tony Raines, apparently.
Loney, of course, had to come in under green after sustaining a cut-down right front tire, and he's a couple of laps off the pace. We're showing him unofficially in 18th position, and now being shown 3 laps down. And it's hard to keep up with our scoring monitor because it's constantly rotating through the drivers. You know, we've got 13 cars on the lead lap. 4 of them are still rookies, and one of them that just went through your screen is the red car number 50 of Eddie Sharp. He's being shown in the 3rd position after this round of pit stops. You're watching the whole field go by. And there he is, Eddie Sharp from Concord, North Carolina, soon to be my hometown or someplace in that area. The Sharp
Congratulations to you, by the way.
Thank you very much.
More on that story later, perhaps.
Yeah.
Here's Eddie Sharp's car, number 50, and being shown now in 3rd spot. We'll be back here to Jennerstown. We got a little more time to kill here for you. See you in a moment.
How long does a car battery last? About this much time is put into most batteries. But AC-Delco puts in more, so our batteries last over 20% longer. Now there's the new Delco Freedom 84, our longest-lasting battery ever, with 7 years of guaranteed starts, making it the granddaddy of all batteries.
Hey, my watch.
Western Auto and Western Auto's Parts America. Serious parts, serious savings.
It isn't easy winning a championship. One week you're on a super speedway, the next week you're on a short track, or a road course, or something in between. You have to change, you have to adapt, and you have to have the consistency and the technology of Goodyear Eagle tires.
Goodyear, #1 in racing, #1 in tires.
Winning the championship takes consistency, and that takes Goodyear. The Stock Car Cafe. Is it a stock car racing museum? You bet. Do famous drivers really come in there?
Yes, sir. We love great food, too.
It's the best in casual dining, in a family atmosphere, with some of the greatest racing fans in the world. And you might just make some new friends while you're there. The Stock Car Cafe, Charlotte, North Carolina, and coming soon to the rest of the world.
It's the variety hour of power. See who's running hot and who's not running. Gear up and lap the racing field with us on Motorsports Hour by Chevrolet. Thursday nights on this regional sports network.
Leaders into turn number 1. The green flag just dropped there. You might have seen it lapping in the background as Glenn Allen Jr. goes to the lead with Brad Loney. hot on his heels. Loney, of course, down 3 laps, so he is not a race for position on the racetrack. He's trying to get another lap back. Nor is the 87 car, in fact, in second place, even though he's second on the track. It is the 4 of Dave Sensiba that is the second place car, and there he comes into view, the slightly damaged Western Michigan Chevy Dealers Lane Automotive Chevrolet. Gary St. Amant, a very good pit stop for him. And in 4th spot on the race, shown on the racetrack right now, is Tom Jones in the number 0 car. Jones winning this race 2 years ago from exactly the same starting grid position as he had this year, 21st, and exactly the same pit stall. So he was probably working a little voodoo there and feeling like it might be part of his cause today.
He's drifting back a little bit, though, Brian. I don't think he came in under this most recent caution. If he did, he didn't get an especially good set of tires, because you can see he's way up out of the racing groove, and he's now lost several positions, giving up a spot to Joe Knott and also to Gary St. Amant and to several other cars. Rick Beebe now taking the pass, that rookie driver who was running second just under caution.
Steve Holtzhausen in the number 2 car, being shown just ahead of Tom Jones. And Holtzhausen has been in the thick of things all day long, fighting his way back through the field. Rick Beebe, the rookie champion, of course, the Pat Shower Memorial Rookie of the Year. Rick Beebe will go home with a $50,000 payday, win, lose, or draw here at Jennerstown. And he's got to be very pleased and happy about that. Car owner John Freeman has put together a terrific program. And in fairness to John, as a race car driver, he sure made a great car owner this year, doesn't he?
Yes, sir. There's Tony Raines getting a lap back. Brad Loney has already done that. But now for Tony Raines, I think, Brian, he is back on the lead lap in car number 87, getting confirmation from Torch that is, in fact, the case. So Tony Raines could, in fact, be in the hunt for the win before the day is over with still 120 laps to go.
We're under green here, and we've had a lot of caution flags. We've had a lot of lead changes. We've had a lot of bad mojo working on anybody who took the lead in this race. Glenn Allen Jr., of course, not concerned in the least, for now anyway, with Tony Raines, who went around him, and Brad Loney, who did so a few moments ago. The closest car to the leader, Glenn Allen Jr., on the racetrack that would be any trouble to him is about 10 car lengths back, and that's Dave Sensiba.
But he's closing.
He's closing fast.
Picks up some ground after getting around a couple of the lap cars. It's Sensiba second. Gary St. Amant has come back to third. Bob Seneker fourth. Fifth is 48 Joe Knott in sixth position. I made a mistake. Fourth position is car number 50, Eddie Sharp, who's hanging right in there with the veterans, the rookie driver, having a great run today.
He's had a pretty rough year, Eddie Sharp, and needs a good run, I think, to really feel good about his prospects for 1996. Moving on to the next season of the Sharp Racing machine. Let's go to Ralph once again. Ralph, what do you got?
Well, I want to update you on a couple of guys. Don't forget, Eddie Sharp and Ted Smokestad are battling it out hard for third place in the Pat Shower Rookie of the Year awards. Coming into this race, only 2 points separated them. But Eddie Sharp, who ran second for quite a while at Toledo, right now looks like the back half of 95 is getting very positive for him. Tom Jones is having trouble with his radio. The crew cannot hear him, but he can hear them. So they have no idea what the problem is with Tom Jones. J.D. Summers had a motor seize. His day is done. And Tim Stoddard put a rod in the block. His day is done in the Tony's Pizza car.
There's the 07 of Todd Forbes going underneath Eddie Sharp. That is not the position, as Forbes is at least one lap down.
So much as the battle for the championship was really being waged by those behind champion Brian Refner, so too in the Pat Shower Memorial Rookie of the Year. Still very active and animated competition for the runner-up spots and beyond.
See how your favorite driver is faring. That bright blue, Robin's Egg blue machine behind Glenn Allen Jr., the leader we'll talk about in a second. Glenn Allen, of course, trying to make it 2 wins in a row in the fall season-ending race here at Jennerstown Speedway. Did so last season and should end up, if he finishes there, in second in the national standings for the year, ahead of Mike Eddy.
Right next to him is Dave Anspaugh, of course, the 37 machine, Anspaugh Racing Pontiac out of Sturgis, Michigan. There's Glenn Allen Jr., the race leader. The Eaglewood Construction CarQuest Pontiac moving on to the Busch Grand National Series for next year, as we mentioned earlier. That has been confirmed. And there's Dave Anspaugh. There's Dave Sensiba, the second place car right now. Number 4, the Western Michigan Chevy Dealers Lane Automotive Chevrolet. Involved in an altercation earlier. Chose the high side line around a lap car, Bill Baird, and met the wall. He's in second place, however, recovering nicely, I might add.
Having a good run in that Western Michigan Lane Automotive Chevy Monte Carlo. There's the third place car, number 7 of Gary St. Amant, the wins Port City Ford Thunderbird. Gary having a great run, has led a lot of laps today, as has this driver. In fact, they die side by side a lot early. The Johnsonville Foods Lane Automotive Thunderbird of Bob Seneca.
Real quick, thanks to Johnsonville, after I beat them up so bad about their spicy sausages, their summer sausages, they sent me some.
Did they?
And after I had to clean out my refrigerator from Hurricane Opal because the power went out for 5 days, the first and only thing in the fridge the next day was the Johnsonville sausage. Here's the Noah Yoder entry. Todd Forbes' fortunes up and down, somewhat on the rise back again, being shown in 15th place a lap down. First car 1 lap down.
Todd has been strong a lot of places this year, but hasn't been able to run one to the checkered flag to get a win. There's Jeff Finley, shown 6 laps off the pace. And that is in fact a car that's been repainted. It's Pat Bordeaux's backup car. Bordeaux not here this weekend. He was a rookie contender. And there is the Rookie of the Year, the Engine Armor Chevy Monte Carlo of Rick Beebe, who's run as high as 2nd this afternoon, has had a strong run, currently shown in 6th position.
Continuing to look back through the field, here's Eddie Sharp being shown in 7th place. A good run for him in that, and perhaps runner-up Rookie of the Year. And there is the ASA champion for 1995, Brian Refner. Started off from the pole, and when everything went in the plumbing for him right quick. But likewise, it did so for Mike Eddy. Consequently, with Eddie behind the wall, Brian Refner is the champion.
The 8th run in car number 2 of Steve Holtzhausen, and it's been on the wheel of this car. Now, Mike Miller, who was trying to pass him for 8th spot, apparently now that they've run a number of laps in under Green, Miller, who was fading a little bit in that Funco Land Atlanta Communications Pontiac, is beginning to work his way back toward the front. Jay Sauter, shown in 16th, was a lead lap car until he was forced to stop under Green with a cut tire. And there's the Super America Johnsonville Chevrolet of Ted Smokestad having a good run, and the rookie driver remains on the lead lap.
Tom Jones, showing in 11th place, had been as high as 4th, won this race 2 years ago in the Felpro Pace Jacks Pontiac. The 51 of Brandon Sperling, the California driver of the Ultra Wheel Company Baja Ministry Chevrolet, number 51, moving inside there of Sauter.
Good kid. He's going to run real well next year, I think. Here's Kent Stauffer in that Popa Joe's Kinetic Engines Flex Technologies Thunderbird, having just his consistent performance as we've come to expect from Kent over the years. Came in 12th in the points, trying to move up a couple of spots. And here's Dennis Berry. The last time we saw him 2 weeks ago, we saw him in a way we didn't want to see him, up in flames.
And that's the same car. Believe it or not, that towering Inferno was rebuilt and is under Dennis Berry here today. There's Rick Miller in 13th place, Rookie of the Year leader early in the season. And if, now he's looking at a race for 2nd in that competition right now, along with Eddie Sharp.
There's the Doctor, Yale Conley, the Simonton Windows Chevrolet, which he hopes will get additional sponsorship from the Blimpie Sandwich people next year, as well as Band-Aid.
Dave Anspaugh, Dr. Dave Anspaugh, the 2 doctors, one a medical doctor, the other a PhD. Dave Anspaugh.
Seen a lot of him today. He's been intermittently fast and headed the wrong direction as he's been involved in a couple of on-track incidents, showing 48 laps down after some lengthy pit stops. And here was a guy that was a factor for the win, the Winnebago Flex Steel HW Econo Foods Chevy of Brad Loney. Lost 3 laps in the pits, and we're going to be showing him right now in 18th position after losing those laps while stopping under Green for fresh right side tires.
Continuing to look back through the entire field here, lapped or not, at Jennerstown, the AC Rapidfire 400, Brad Loney now being shown in 7th place, moved up a notch and moving past David Anspaugh. There's Bill Baird. We looked at him a moment ago. And here's Tony Raines in the number 87 machine, the Baker Enterprises Clean Burn, and with their new sponsor, Next America, prominently displayed there on the left rear panel. 15th place for Tony on the track right now.
And still a factor today. Remember, just a few laps ago, he got around Glenn Allen Jr. to get his lead lap back. And I think Dave Anspaugh just wants a lot of television time. There is your leader, Glenn Allen. We've looked at him. We have not mentioned this car. That's car number 30, the local driver, Glenn Gall, accustomed to just running 50-lap features. The driver of the American title Tavone Snow King Chevrolet, having a good run this afternoon. Had planned to run all the races in 1995, but simply did not materialize. The only guy that we didn't see, I don't think, and I do want to mention, is the number 10 of Tony Roper. He's still on the racetrack a couple of laps down, and his crew chief, Kevin, this weekend, and also Chris Skursovic from that team, who's been under the weather and health improving there, and that's good news.
Well, we also did not get a look at the number 58 car of Billy Turner out of Oklahoma, the Central Fiber Chevrolet, and I believe he's being shown currently in 24th spot, down about 12 or 13 laps. And I don't believe we got a look at the 13 car during our look back. That's Tom Harrington from Cranberry Township, Pennsylvania, nearby here at the Trust Buster.
For second, shaping up between Dave Sensiva and Gary St. Amand and second position.
Dave Sensiva on the outside, working around lap traffic. There's Gary St. Amand in the number 7. Then it's Seneca, Joe Knott on the track, and we continue to have some great racing. We are in the final 100 laps of the AC Rapidfire 400. The champion has been crowned for the 1995 season, but the winner has yet to be determined. We'll be back.
Wins Extend Supreme Plus is a patented oil supplement especially formulated for today's high-tech engines. Extend helps increase oil life, combats engine wear, and reduces oil oxidation. So next time and every time you have your oil changed, ask for Extend, the supplement that will not void manufacturer's warranties and comes with its own 100,000-mile warranty. Extend Supreme Plus, a Win Oil Company product since 1939, available at quality service for Firestone, Goodyear, and Grease Monkeys.
Memphis, California Gold, the finest cleaners, polishes, and finish restorers. Carnauba wax protects and shines. Easy to apply, looks great.
California Gold, there's no shine like Mother's.
Sam and I are always looking for ways to make our vehicles perform better and look better.
And for ways to save money, Dave.
If your dashboard looks like this,
Here's the answer. A Coverlet Contour dash cover. It costs a fraction of what car dealers charge for replacement dashboards.
Coverlet fits right over the old dash, and it's available for most cars and trucks.
Made from specially formulated plastic, they carry a limited lifetime warranty.
Call 1-800-DASH-MAT for the name of your nearest dealer.
Ask for Coverlet Contour dash covers by name.
Under caution again here at Jennerstown Speedway with 89 laps to go, and it was Dr. Yale Conley with an apparently rather unharmful spin down here on the home stretch. There's a little bit of piece of something blue heading up towards the wall.
It's a Frisbee. It's a flat one. I'm not sure what the heck it is.
I'm not sure what it is either. Anyway, there's Dr. Conley's car, and very little damage evident on the left side, and then when he came by here, there was very little damage evident on the right side. So
smacked the wall pretty hard on the on the inside of the racetrack, right in front of the start-finish line. Maybe we'll get a chance to take another peek at it.
Now, Dr. Yale Conley, we have said, has done a terrific job of marketing himself. We heard from a moment ago the Johnson & Johnson Band-Aids brand representative, Rex Davis, there, and well, Dr. Conley has done no less than a magnificent job of putting sponsors on the car, number 3. And earlier we talked to yet another of the potential sponsors for the Simonton Windows entry.
Yale, what's the status with the blimp view folks on the back of your car?
Well, Ralph, you noticed the new logo on the deck lid of the car. This is the first time you've seen it this year. And at home, I had the opportunity to do 2 appearances, the car and myself, at Blimpie restaurants. And basically, these are small restaurants that service fresh salads, fresh subs, and looks like that they may come on board next year at the associate level. And at home, it was a big hit with Blimpies of West Virginia. They were real proud to have us, and we showed strong performance, had a big turnout. The people loved it, and the restaurant loved it. So we're running the logo here at the race today, and they're taking a look at us, and hopefully we'll see them a lot next year.
Well, there you have it. Dr. Yale Conley, the racing surgeon from West Virginia. His car is in. A little bit of a hero mark there on the right side of the car, and he's up and down back out onto the racetrack to rejoin the battle here. He had been shown in 17th or 18th place, actually, and perhaps will continue to hang around that same position on the racetrack. He is down a couple of laps, pitting under, causing and then pitting under the caution. Dr. Yale Conley not really losing a whole lot of ground. There's the 7 car, Gary St. Amant, running an 8th spot, or being shown an 8th spot right now on the racetrack. Ralph Shaheen with more on Gary, or Rob, I'm sorry. Rob's got a word on that.
Yeah, Ralph, Gary St. Amant's situation has been kind of interesting. He has really been the subject of a lot of speculation. He made a couple of truck race appearances and was battling Johnny Benson for second place at Raceway Park on the last lap when he spun and crashed. So a lot of people thought he might be making a move to the trucks next year. He said he really wants to stay in ASA and race for the championship next year, but he has not yet confirmed a continuing sponsorship relationship with the Wins people, and that will have a great impact on his decision. Now, Wins also has been involved with Kenny Irwin, who ran real well at Toledo a couple of weeks ago, and Gary had been of some help to Kenny, as has Dave Sensiba, whose car he drove as a backup machine. Kenny says he'd like to run all the races next year in ASA for Rookie of the Year, but may also go for the Silver Crown Championship. Here's another guy that's been the subject of some speculation, Jay Sauter in the Trop Arctic Pontiac. Like St. Amant, he says, if the Trop Arctic people will commit to us for significant sponsorship, this is what we're going to do next year. But again, he's been mentioned in conjunction with a couple of other rides, some in and some out of the American Speed Association. Some things up in the air for Jay, as well as for his brother Tim, who is trying to work a permanent deal with the number 02 car of Randy Larson and running that one full time.
For those of you at home, we are currently under caution and also in the facts, rumors, and speculation portion of our broadcast here, the final race. Actually, this is the beginning of the silly season. The end of the racing season always precipitates the silly season. We're back to green flag now. First car on the racetrack and the new race leader, Dave Sensiba. And right behind him, another one of the great young talents of the American Speed Association, Joe Knott, 48.
Behind this lead duo, third place Eddie Sharp, fourth is Brandon Sperling, a couple of rookies running in third and fourth position on the racetrack, electing not to defend under caution. Henson for fifth, he stayed out, but Glenn Allen came in. He was the former race leader. He's sixth and had the best stop of all the race leaders.
Yeah, seventh place, number 84, Bob Seneca, I believe, came in. Number 7, Gary St. Amant, Tony Raines, Rick Beebe, and Mike Miller came in. So they're gambling on fresh tires and a better run to the checkers. 82 laps to the checker right now. So a little over 40 miles of racing remain. And once again, pit stop strategies, these riverboat gamblers out there all picking a little bit different way to try to win the final race of the season.
Joe Knott's best finish this year, there you can see it, a third at Toledo. He's had a couple of strong top 5 runs, and not too far behind them, the battle for third between Eddie Sharp on the low side, Glenn Allen Jr. with some fresh tires, and car number 15 pilots that Eaglewood CarQuest Pontiac to the high side of the Thunderbird of Sharp and takes over third position.
Well, normally the inside is where someone tries to make a pass, but Glenn Allen, obviously, with the better handling car, Eddie Sharp there trying to hold his car down low, but we saw a little wiggle here and a little wobble there, and Glenn Allen Jr. just took right off. Here's a battle for the lead, and once again, the inside line being taken by Dave Sensiba, the outside and so far superior line being held by Joe Knott.
Do you think Mark Martin has yet discovered where that lost hood ended up?
Oh, a little bit loose there. Joe Knott, of course, we've been kidding all season long about his crew having raided Mark Martin's garage, and that's where they got the hood for the 48 car, which is the Alan Knott Honda Valvoline Gravy Ford.
Of course, it's really not his, because this one is made out of composite, and Mark's is made out of steel, but they sure do look a lot alike. And right now, the way Joe Knott's driving his similar Ford Thunderbird, you know, maybe he's taken a lesson from Mark Martin in more ways than just patterning his hood.
Mark Martin with a couple of wins this year in the Cup Series. Joe Knott looking for his first career win, in fact. Never mind season. 22 or 23 years old now?
I think he just had his 23rd birthday. Another interesting factoid regarding Mark Martin. We've had a driver equal a Mark Martin standard here today. Brian Refner becomes the second driver in ASA history to win a championship in his sophomore season. And boy, what a guy to follow in the footsteps of. Mark Martin accomplished it back in 1980, and now in 1995, a decade and a half later, Brian Refner, as a second-year driver, wins the ASA championship. And boy, Todd Forbes wants to pick up a lap in car number 07 as he moves a little bit of the front bumper to the tail end of Dave Sensiba's car number 4, and now motors easily away. And look at the lead that Joe Knott is beginning to build over Dave Sensiba.
Looking back a little bit further in the field, it's Eddie Sharp and Brandon Sperling going nose to tail here for 6th place on the racetrack. Veteran Mike Miller in the Funco Land Atlantic Communications Pontiac edging his way back towards the front after stopping for fresh tires, giving up some track position in a gamble as many drivers have made for a chance at a run late.
You know, I want to give these two young men credit. You know, Rick Beebe's going to win the rookie championship, and I don't want to take anything away from him, but Rick is a real racing veteran. He's new to ASA. These two drivers, Brandon Sperling and Eddie Sharp, much less stock car racing experience. So the progress that these two young fellows have made during this year has been really nothing less than astonishing, coming from, you know, very limited stock car racing experience.
Well, Eddie Sharp getting a lot of early season help, perhaps throughout the season. Johnny Benson Jr., of course, who has pretty well wrapped up the Busch Grand National title, ASA champion 2 years ago. And likewise, Brandon Sperling. Eddie Sharp, I know, acts very much as the sort of, you know, driver, owner, chief, everything for his car, and is learning it from the ground up. Here's Mike Miller, once again, on the tail end there of Eddie Sharp, trying to find a way around the young driver. Brandon Sperling checking out. Not much of a battle between Sharp and Sperling. Sperling with the very obviously better handling car. Eddie Sharp's been backpedaling. His tires have got to be going away on him pretty badly.
I think early in the year we may have put a little too much pressure on him because he's driving a car that was formerly owned by Butch Miller, and then Johnny can only help him so much from 1,000 miles away. Eddie has operated out of Johnny's old shops up in Grand Rapids. I know the Benson clan has been very helpful to him and cooked some meals for him and washed some clothes and given him every bit of support they can. But Eddie and his dad, Ed Sr., have pretty much done this year on their own. So really all the credit goes to the Sharps.
Well, with tires that might be going away, he's certainly hanging on to position on the racetrack there. A pair of lead lap cars racing for position. Mike Miller now with the inside position, and very easily, once he set it up, was able to go around. Sharp perhaps realizing the inevitable was about to happen and just conceded that his car is not handling as well. First, Brandon Sperling drives away. And Miller now with a chirp of the tires.
Glenn Allen has spun in turn number 2, the third-place car, the Eaglewood Construction CarQuest Pontiac. Glenn Allen Jr., who was chasing down Dave Sensiba for second position and a dominant force just 20 or 30 laps ago, has spun and brought out yet another caution flag in car number 15. And here was the driver that was hoping with a good run today, Brian, to take second away in the points from Mike Eddy. Still may get that done, but boy, he's dropped way back now to the tail end of the lead lap as a result of that spin.
Wow, I saw the smoke come off the left front of Miller's car, and it jerked sideways. I thought maybe he was having a problem. He was reacting, of course, to the spin by Glenn Allen Jr., and now Glenn, working his way around the racetrack and towards pit lane, is going to go in and make some changes under caution. See what we got here. There he is, backwards on the track. Gary St. Amant slides by narrowly.
Well, we'll try to get a little better perspective this time. Of course, they were not running up front, so we didn't have a camera trained right on them. There he is in the upper right-hand corner. He's already sideways. He was trying to pass Dave Sensiba. Now, whether or not there was any contact between the two, there are two drivers, Mike Miller and Eddie Sharp, locking up the binders. Ralph, what's the situation on pit road?
Well, they brought him in and changed tires on him. Any idea what happened to him, Bo?
We're way too tight, or way too loose right now. We're just trying to tighten it back up.
Is that what caused him to spin?
Yeah.
Well, that was crew chief Bo Mark Galloway, who apparently will move with Glenn Allen Jr. next season to the Busch Grand National Series.
Glenn Allen Jr. back out on the racetrack, and Brandon Sperling has come to a halt waiting for the push truck. So once again, we'll sort all that out and see you in a moment.
You might have found me.
Wherever you go, I'll be with you. We belong to the light, we belong to the thunder. And I'm gonna keep on loving you.
toll-free 1-800-522-5333. Call 5333 or send $19.95 for 3 cassettes or $26.95 for 3 CDs, plus $4.50 shipping and handling to the address on your screen.
When it comes to NASCAR news, Eli's got it. Reviews and previews. Catch 'em with Eli. Top drivers, they're hanging with Eli. NASCAR takes the checkered flag with Eli Cole. This week in NASCAR, Thursdays on this regional sports network.
Getting ready to go back to green here in just a moment. 64 laps remain in the AC Rapidfire 400, the championship race of the American Speed Association's AC-Delco Challenge Series. It has been a very good race. A barn burner, a Jim Dandy. Use all those expressions you want. There, it's been here for you today.
So we get ready to go back to green. A big hello to Chris Politis, a real friend of ASA Racing, owner of the Sandwich Construction Company in Charlotte, and co-owner with our big boss, Stan Duvall, president of Group 5 of the Stock Car Cafe. And I got to have lunch there on Monday past. And I asked Chris what I should eat. And he said, well, since you're the new business manager for Johnny Benson Jr., you better have this one. And he pointed to a sandwich right there on the menu. Johnny Benson's favorite, the Cajun chicken sandwich.
I suspect you'll be a regular over there at the Stock Car Cafe these days. Our congratulations to Rob Albright for his new role as the business manager for Johnny Benson Jr. And well, you could hitch your car to a rising star, and it would probably say Johnny Benson on it.
I'm excited about the opportunity as Eddie Sharp has come on pit road in car number 50, and what a disappointment because he's been on the lead lap all day. Almost to a stop, and it looks like maybe an engine problem. Ralph, what's going on for Sharp?
Well, it's not an engine problem, it's a brake problem for Eddie Sharp, and it looks like a vision problem as well. He can't see anything now. We'll get the crew chief Joe shot. Joe, can you tell me what happened with the brakes? Eddie broke the left rear caliper bone and it spun around on the rotor, so we have no rear brakes. We had to dial all the brakes to the front. So Eddie looked like he stood a real good chance of taking maybe third out from the rookie point standings, and now he's going to have to settle maybe for fourth.
Battle for second place there now is Bob Seneker, the sneaker, has sneaked, or however you would say that. I know my English teacher is shuddering at the moment if she's listening.
Snookered.
He
snooked
back into second spot now, and Tony Raines, amazingly, back up among the leaders, and now third has just taken over third. Sensiba on a little bit of a rearward march there. Lost 2 spots right quick.
Well, why we're saying amazingly about Tony Raines, some folks gave him up for dead. He went a lap down earlier, cutting a tire down under green, but I said don't write him off. As this is a long race, 400 laps. We've now got about 60 laps to go, and Raines got a shot at a win up to third position.
Well, once again, the pick of our executive producer, John Petrie. We all have sort of our picks, and furthermore, we participate in a very random drawing pool just for laps. It's a blind draw. You reach in, you pull out a little slip of paper with a driver's number on it, and for some guys, it's thanks for playing our little game. For others, of course, you get a legitimate chance at winning a little, token prize there, kind of a little pot we put together. And, well, you don't always get the driver you want, but in this case, I went in there 3 times, and so I got a few picks to pick for here.
I'd like to say congratulations to another big winner, and that is Lucas Camden of Winchester, Indiana, who was the winner of a drawing for a ride in Bill Baird's MiG, and you could probably give him some dressing lessons on what he should wear in preparation for that flight.
Yeah, just make sure don't touch anything red. That would be my first advice. Anything that's painted red inside the cockpit of that Russian-built Czechoslovakian trainer, don't touch it. Second, make sure the little bag is in the seat pocket in front of you. And, anyway, third, it's a white-knuckle ride, but it'll be the thrill of a lifetime for Lucas there. Enjoy yourself. That is great. That is a fun experience, and I thank Bill Baird and Bill, his pilot, for taking me up and enjoying that at Topeka.
Great 4-car battle for 4th position. Gary St. Amant gets the advantage in car number 7 around Mike Miller's number 18, and then it is Steve Holtzhausen in car number 2. All 3 of those drivers have made their way past Dave Sensiba, and again, I think under this most recent caution, most if not everybody in that quartet except Sensiba came on pit road, and here comes Glenn Allen Jr. into the hunt in car number 15. And what a run he's made after making a pit stop. He's the one that created the caution flag to begin with.
Well, he won this race a year ago and obviously knows how to do it. Glenn Allen Jr. creeping back into the picture. Gary St. Amant right now, and Mike Miller. That's the race for 4th place, actually. Gary St. Amant, Miller working the inside, sneaking up around the back is Steve Holtzhausen. He's been out of the picture from the very beginning of this race with a fast Gillen Enterprises Justice Brothers car number 2.
Great battle. Gary St. Amant trying to hold off. Mike Miller, Steve Holtzhausen, Glenn Allen running nose to tail behind him. Eddie Sharp has taken car number 50 behind the wall. We no longer see the number 51 of Brandon Sperling. We were just talking about those rookie drivers with a great lead lap run they were having today, but their day ends about 50 laps from the checker.
49 laps to the checker now as they just crossed the finish line stripe, and Miller there trying to gain ground on Gary St. Amant and trying to defend his position against the advances of Glenn Allen Jr. and Steve Holtzhausen. That's a deal where you don't know whether to spit or wind your watch. Do you go high, go low? You got to try to make a pass and defend the spot at the same time.
Again, Glenn Allen, as he found in trying to take the lead earlier away from Gary St. Amant, he can get to the low side, he can crank it hard, but it's so hard to keep it down there and make the pass. Look at Holtzhausen trying to make the strong run on the high side coming off turn 2. But it looks like Glenn has finally made the pass, and now he'll go to work on Mike Miller and Gary St. Amant. But Holtzhausen fighting right back in the blue, red, and yellow car number 2.
It's the time to fight. We're in the closing rounds of the title fight here. Of course, the championship is already gone. Let's go down to the leader's crew chief, Chris Bradley.
Chris, this is the best position Joey's ever been in to win a race. How are you coaching him home here in the final few?
Just tell him to be smooth and fast and to keep concentrating and keep the Valvoline oil racing forward up front.
Are you concerned at all about your tires?
Oh, a little bit, but I think everybody's in the same position. They might have a little fresher tires, but track position is so important.
What an amazing way to finish off this season, gentlemen, of Joey Knock to get his first win ever in ASA competition here today, Jennerstown.
Number 48, Alan Knott, Honda Valvoline, Ravy Thunderbird on the lead right now and running point. Will he be able to bring home his first career win here, or will one of those veterans coming up from the back take it away? We'll see in a moment.
AC-Delco knows that as a car gets older, its engine runs rougher. So we developed a spark plug to help bring back new car feel. Introducing Rapidfire from AC-Delco. It makes an engine idle up to 27% smoother and accelerate with up to 18% quicker throttle response. New Rapidfire. It'll have the competition shaken. Western Auto and Western Auto's Parts America. Serious parts, serious savings.
At Chevrolet, we're not just out here winning. We're testing suspensions, developing more powerful engines, and learning more about aerodynamics. Because if you want to bring more race-winning technology to the street than any other car company, sometimes you have to work weekends. That's genuine Chevrolet.
Live, NASCAR, Winston Cup Racing on TNN, the Nashville Network. High stakes, ultra-high speeds, and the men who lay it all on the line. The extreme heat of a battle, where a mistake can cost you more than just the race. Yeah, nothing can rock 'em and roll 'em like live Winston Cup Racing on TNN Motorsports. It doesn't get any closer. Watch the AC-Delco 400 live Sunday, October 22nd, 12 noon Eastern.
Herds of hardy souls braving the elements here today. A brisk fall afternoon in the Laurel Highlands of Western Pennsylvania, the championship of the American Speed Association. And what a way to end this season as we have just terrific racing going on all over the track. This in particular, a race for 5th place. Mike Miller in the Funco Land Atlantic Communications Pontiac and Glenn Allen Jr. back in the hunt again in the Eaglewood Construction CarQuest Pontiac.
Both drivers love the low line here at Jennerstown Speedway, and it would appear again that Glenn Allen has a little quicker race car, but Mike Miller is running, about 2/3 of a groove down. Since we went to caution, remember we lost 2 rookies, Eddie Sharp and Brandon Sperling are on the lead lap. Rick Beebe, who had such a great run, as high as 2nd. He is done. He is behind the wall, and Ralph is there.
Rick, can you tell me what went wrong with the car?
I couldn't hear you, Ralph.
can you tell me what went wrong with the car?
Yeah, we lost the bearing in the rear end. Just had a bearing go out, popped the back out of the rear end cover, and just lost the rear end.
Well, congratulations, Rick. You have won the 1995 Pat Shower Rookie of the Year Award in ASA this year. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I was hoping to have a good run today. We did for a while, but hey, that's racing. We'll be back and get them next year.
I think Pat Shower would be proud to say that Rick Beebe won his award. Wouldn't you, Rob?
No doubt about it. Not a lot of people still running an ASA remember Pat Shower. I do back in 1981, the first ASA race that I ever worked as a pit reporter. I had met him, interviewed him, and unfortunately he lost his life that day at Winchester while earning the Rookie of the Year honors posthumously. He was running second in that race, and Rick Beebe ran second in the race today, and no doubt about it, Pat would have been proud of the man who will earn the award named for Pat's honor here this afternoon.
Probably the most veteran-like of the rookie contenders to take that title. Rick Beebe and his crew, John Freeman, the car owner of the Engine Armor Chevrolet, the entire crew, Dennis Grossnickel, the crew chief for that operation until a couple of races ago, has now moved over and thrown his hat in Brett Bell's ring for 1996 with the Wonder Bar Redline Oil Ford. And our hats off to Dennis Grossnickel, the entire crew for the early season, and the remaining crew under John Freeman for this year.
And speaking of that Brett Bell ride, we'd like to extend good well wishes to Rick Martindale's mom, Rick, the owner of car number 56. She's under the weather, and we just hope she gets well very quickly.
And Bob Seneker, with a little bit of fender flappage going on there, is moving up towards the rear bumper of Joe Knott in the 48 car. The leader is that Valvoline Hood number 48. And Bob Seneker won the spring race from the pole. Of course, he did not sit on the pole here. Bob Seneker, starting from fourth position, has been just kind of hiding out, hanging out, waiting and watching. What else would you expect from the man we call the sneaker?
With Mike Eddy out early, that means only 3 former winners at Jennerstown still in the field. Bob Seneker, the only multiple winner. Mike Eddy has won 3 times here. Bob Seneker trying to make it a third today. Tom Jones and Glenn Allen Jr. both with a shot at a victory. I'd say Glenn Allen maybe. Jones a little bit out of the hunt. There you can see the top 12. Jay Sauter 13th. There's your champion, Brian Refner. And after having all kinds of problems early and having brakes on only 3 of his 4 wheels, still hanging in there pretty tough today, Brian.
Well, from 37th to 14th, he might end up winning the Dixiana Hard Charger Award. That would be just another little jewel on the crown, perhaps, here today.
Of course, that's based on starting position, but
that's right.
If you take it based on where he was early in the race, it certainly would be the winner of that one. And Joe Knott, once he's been caught by Bob Seneker, has not given much ground. Well, we've talked about Tom Jones being a former winner here. And Ralph, what's the story on Jones? He's on pit road.
Well, Tom Jones is done. They broke the motor, so the Felpro Pontiac is done for the year.
Not done for the day, but done for the year.
Sounds so final, doesn't it?
Really? Well, it is. It is. This is the last race. We're getting close to the last 25 laps of the last race. Bob Seneker just cruised up to the leader there as they move past Dennis Berry's number 75 car. Joe Knott, once again, his best finish third. He can improve on that by a couple of spots and pick up his first ever American Speed Association victory here today. And I know his butterfly is probably starting to flap a little bit there in Joe Knott.
Watch Bob Seneker. That time through turns 1 and 2. Car number 84 pushed way up out of the groove. This time he's able to hold it on the bottom. Maybe we can stay with him again. This time into turns 1 and 2.
He was coming around the 75 before. It might have just gotten up into loose stuff a little, maybe.
No, again, he's a little bit high coming through 1 and 2. And trying to find the fastest way around. And no doubt Chris Bradley has kept in good radio communication with his young driver, Joe Knott, in telling him the best way to make his way around the racetrack. Seneker, meanwhile, trying to find just that little bit of additional impetus that he needs to take that lead. Meanwhile, Tony Raines, the third-place car, has drifted back some 10 or 12 car lengths behind the front-running pair of Fords.
Race for fourth, even further back on the racetrack, perhaps with little or no chance of winning, are the cars Gary St. Amont's number 7, the 18 of Miller, and the 15 of Glenn Allen Jr. still working. We are just a handful of laps, 23 to go here at Jennerstown. It seems like a long time ago. We started out with 400. We'll see you in a moment.
In business, a lot can happen. If you want to keep up every week, you have a choice. Not Forbes, not Fortune. You can read Business Week, or you can read a week of the Wall Street Journal. Either way, you'll find out all you need to know. The question is, how much time are you willing to spend in the process? Business Week is designed for busy people. One look at the cover and you'll know exactly where to turn inside. A quick scan of the contents page and you'll have all the events of the week that interest you.
Now is the time to subscribe to Business Week, because right now you could get 28 issues of Business Week for the low rate of $25.95. A savings of almost 69% off the cover price. And with your paid subscription, we'll send you this compact cordless data bank free. Here's how to subscribe. Call 1-800-608-6611 for 28 issues of Business Week for just $25.95. That's 1-800-608-6611.
You don't have to be 19 to have a body like this. You don't have to work out 8 hours a day. You don't have to be narcissistic or shallow. In fact, all you really need is $39 a month. The SoloFlex Muscle Machine. What are you waiting for?
We're back at Jennerstown under caution here. Dr. Yale Conley with a little late race spin there, brought out the caution flag. That will serve, of course, to tighten up the field for the run to the checkers behind Joe Knott. It is Bob Seneker. There's Dr. Conley going back out and to the tail of the field. And up front, mixed in among a few cars that are down a lap, are the leaders. There's Joe Knott's number 48. Seneker in second spot. Third is Tony Raines. Todd Forbes, the 75 car, and Anspaugh and the 30 of Galt are down a lap. Then it's the 7 of Gary St. Amant, the 15 of Glenn Allen Jr. that made the pass good finally on Mike Miller after those two guys went at it for about 50 laps. And Miller being shown in 6th.
7th is Steve Holtzhausen in car number 2. In the 8th position, still on the lead lap, car number 98, Kent Stauffer. 9th, and I believe the last car on the lead lap is car number 32, Ted Smokestad. So those are the top 9. We're unofficial, or there is a 10th car, and that is the Dave Sensible machine, car number 4, who's just given up 9th position. 11th, one lap down, rookie driver Rick Miller, right ahead of Jay Sauter and Brad Loney, who are 12th and 13th. 2 laps down, right together on the racetrack is Brian Wego to green, and there's 18 laps to the checkered flag, and a great jump on the restart by the kid, Joe Knott. And he just easily and quickly pulled away from Seneker.
Wow, he put his foot in that Thunderbird and got a great jump there. He went right back out with about the same amount of distance between himself and Bob Seneker that he had early. So no advantage gained by Seneker under caution. He's got quite a few car lengths to make up to catch the leader. We were debating, during the caution whether anyone would come in under caution or not, and I think we agreed uncharacteristically that they would not.
Yeah, I think if anybody had come in, it would have been maybe like the 8th, 9th, and 10th place cars. They were the only ones that could really benefit. But since none of the lap cars came in, and again, it's Gary St. Amant and Glenn Allen Jr. going at it, this time not for the lead as it was earlier, but for 4th position on the racetrack. Nobody among the lead lap drivers elected to stop during that caution.
Except Sensible. He came in, again, with little or nothing to lose. He lost 1 position and may be able to gain back quite a few more than that. In fact, I believe he has already worked around Rick Miller and gotten right back to where he started.
I think Rick Miller was a lap down. He had just gone a lap down under the most recent green flag run, and he now has to catch and pass Kent Stauffer to pick up another position on the racetrack. And Kent Stauffer and Ted Smokestad, and they're about half a straightaway ahead of Sensible. So remains to be seen with 15 laps to go whether those right sides are going to enable him to pick up a spot or 2.
Still watching the battle for 4th between Gary St. Amant on the outside and Glenn Allen Jr. on the inside. Glenn Allen had to have used up quite a bit of his relatively fresh tires in that in what would appear to have been real mortal combat with Mike Miller. Now Miller's just tucked in watching the two of them. Glenn Allen working that low side line. Miller did a good job of defending it from him, and now he's working it on Gary St. Amant.
And, of course, Gary St. Amant came in 6th in points. Mike Miller came in 7th in the standings, right behind the 5th place car of Brad Loney. Loney, having lost a couple of laps under green with a cut tire, he may have dropped back a position. So things are very much at issue in terms of the national standings, and a whole lot of money at stake come banquet time that second weekend in December up in Indianapolis.
That's why these guys are going at it so enthusiastically here late in the year and racing for position on the racetrack. As we have said from the very outset of this broadcast, translate pretty directly into racing for dollars at the season-ending banquet in Indianapolis in December.
With only 10 laps to go, why are we watching this battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th? Because Joe Knott still has a comfortable 2 or 3 car length lead over Bob Seneca. It's narrowed just a bit since we went back to green. There it is, back to the lead, and you can see why we were watching the race for 4th, because Knott is going to be awfully tough to pass. Seneca gets close, but every time he starts to narrow things up, Brian, it looks like Knott gets a little, fire in the belly, so to speak, and off he goes again.
No, I'm not going to count Bob Seneca out here. He knows how to win, and he knows how to win late. But I do have to say that it is Knott's car that's handling much better than Seneca. When he tries to press, his car seems to be, well, I can't really tell whether it's tight, and then it starts to go, and the rear end starts to come away, or whether the car is just loose and a little tail happy out there on the racetrack. Watch him here. This is the worst part on the track for Seneca. He got through pretty smooth, but he goes way up to the wall while Knott is able to hold a much lower line.
It was a little better through 1 and 2, but that's been, you're right, the toughest place for him. 3 and 4, for some reason, although the turns are very similar, he has been better in this end of the racetrack, and now look at him narrowing the gap. So maybe if he can move it down, maybe he's cooled the tires by running to the high side for a last 7-lap now charge to try to get around Joe Knott.
7 laps to go in a marathon. AC Rapidfire 400. A huge number of lead changes. The championship, of course, wrapped up quite early by Brian Refner with Mike Eddy went behind the wall with an engine. And now it is the race for the lead. The first ever career victory for Joe Knott, trying to hold off the winningest driver in the history of the American Speed Association, Bob Seneca. You have to think that Joe Knott wants it a whole lot worse.
Okay, you got a $100 bill in your hand right now, Brian, and you got to put it on one of these 2 Ford horses' nose. Which one does it go down on?
I don't know.
Come on, commit.
All right, I'll commit and say Bob Seneca. He'll find a way around Joe Knott before the end of this race, and that's just a guess and a gamble.
Okay, then I'll take the kid and hope he's able to hold off Bob. And it's not that I got anything against Seneca, but I'd like to see another first-time winner this season.
Well, and I got nothing particularly for or against either one of them. It just looks to me like it always comes down to a great veteran and a terrific and sensational rookie driver all year long. That has been a common theme that has run through our races this season. And once again, we have one of the young lions and one of the great veterans of the American Speed Association dueling it out for the final 3 laps now of the Jennerstown AC Rapidfire 400.
Still heating up the racetrack is this battle for 4th position between Gary St. Amant, Glenn Allen Jr., and Mike Miller. Glenn repeatedly is able to drive to the low side of Gary St. Amant, but not able to make the pass. And again, St. Amant has the edge going into turn number 3. As this time by the start-finish line, there will be 2 laps to go for the leader, Joe Knott, and second running Bob Seneca.
A somewhat distant third, just creeping into this picture there, is Tony Raines in the number 87. And we are seeing a lot of activity here. Seneca tried the low side, brought the crowd to its feet. He tries it again. The crafty veteran coming through and going side by side at the white flag. Bob Seneca has now led the 1 lap to go. He sneaks by on the inside. Joe Knott trying to hold that high line, getting a good drive. 2 great drivers, one of the younger ones and one of the veterans, going wheel to wheel out of the final turn. Who will get the stripe first? It is going to be sideways Bob Seneca over the pit wall, and it looked like he got the door of his car across the finish line first to take the checkered flag here. Joe Knott will be second. There is wreckage all over the track here at the end of this one. What a way to end the season.
Shades of Terry Labonte and Dale Earnhardt at Bristol earlier this year, and this one even more dramatic as Bob Seneca up on the wall and the main straightaway down off the wall, and it did look like from our vantage point he was able to go nearly upside down across the start-finish line with a victory. And you know, he's got a lot of damage to that race car, but if he won this race, he's got a few more bucks to fix it up, no doubt about that.
Bob Seneca, whatever pain he might be feeling there, and look at Joe Knott nodding, he's okay. We will come back and try to sort it all out. We called it like we saw it, and we'll have to tell you like it was in just a moment.
make our new jet ski watercraft perform like everybody else's. But first, we'd have to slow it down. The new 900 CXI.
If you don't stay up with the computer revolution, you're just going to be left in the dust of your competitors.
In today's PC world, you must be PC worldly. PC World magazine is the most important resource you can have.
Having PC World is like having a classroom on computers in your briefcase.
Call this number now to receive your first issue of PC World risk-free.
I'd recommend PC World magazine both to novice users and to highly technical people.
If you call this number now, you'll not only receive your first issue of PC World risk-free, you'll also get this unique Internet Glossary mousepad, a handy reference guide to terms and definitions used across the net, free with your paid order. If you like your first issue, pay just $19.97 and receive 11 more issues of PC World. That's 12 issues in all. Save over 66% off the cover price or cancel and owe nothing.
There's so many products out there, and PC World just helps me cut through the clutter.
Call now for your risk-free issue and get the Internet Mousepad free with your paid order. PC World is everything you need to become PC Worldly. Start today.
Welcome back to Jennerstown, everybody. You're seeing, that's Ralph Shaheen in the middle, by the way. Joe Knott on the left and Bob Seneker on the right. Sort it out for us, Ralph.
Well, this is what's left of Bob Seneker's car. You can see there, Joey Knott and Bob Seneker have joined me over here. We'll start with you, Bob. Believe this or not, folks, this is Bob Seneker's first wreck of 1995. Boy, you do it spectacular. Tell me what happened.
Well, I got inside of Joey there with a lap or two to go, and it was tight racing. He was trying to hold me down. I don't blame him because it's the last lap of a 400 lapper, last lap of the year. He was going for it, and I was going for it. We just got hooked coming out the fourth turn there. I don't think I did anything wrong. Of course, I don't think he thinks he did anything wrong, but I wrecked my car pretty bad.
You had been after him for a good dozen or so laps. Were you just waiting for that last lap?
No, I think I was getting a little bit better as the laps went on. I could get on him a little easier, and I could run up on the apron a little better than he could. And, he just left me enough room to get under him, and I was in there, but we tangled.
Well, you crawled out of the car. I take it you're okay?
A little stiff, but yeah, I'm fine.
That'll be easier to deal with that stiffness with a win. Joey Knott, how you feeling? You okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. Same thing Bob said. We're just out there racing hard as we can, Same thing, I don't think I did anything wrong. He doesn't think he did anything wrong. So at least we brought the Valvoline Ray Ford car home. It's not in one piece, but it's in second place, so we'll take that.
Well, this was by far the best race of your entire career. How do you feel now? Do you feel like you've earned some respect after that kind of a finish?
Well, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. We'll see what these guys think about it. But I hope we do, and we'll be back next year. We'll have a real strong team. I look forward to winning some more races.
Gentlemen, absolutely incredible finish. One of the best seasons ever on the AC-Delco Challenge Series.
And some real sportsmanship displayed by the drivers of the two combatants to the checkered flag, Joe Knott and Bob Seneker, and there was no doubt about it. We looked at a couple of replays. I don't remember ever seeing an ASA race finish tail first to the winner of the race. And, gee, do we really have much question about what constitutes the Wins winning move here this afternoon? We again want to say thank you to the Wins folks all season long as we have kind of collectively picked a winner, and out of turn number 4 to the checkered flag. Well, we've got a lap to go here. And it looked like, now watch, Bob Seneker gets the edge on lap number 400 coming off turn number 2, but this kid is tenacious. Look at Joe Knott battling back on the high side and right here. I thought he was going to get the best run off turn 4 and get his first victory. Joe running as low as he can, Seneker trying to let the car run free, and boom, the Johnsonville Foods Lane Automotive Ford Thunderbird crashes its way to a checkered flag and a win here this afternoon. Almost unnoticed in that finish was Tony Raines' third-place run, but the Wins winning move to Bob Seneker in the Johnsonville Foods Lane Automotive Ford Thunderbird.
The flag flying over the 1995 champion. He has also joined them down there on victory lane, and we'll be back to talk to the champ in just a moment.
Do you want to make sure you're buying term life insurance for the absolute lowest price? You see, the premiums for the same coverage differ widely from company to company. You could save hundreds of dollars per year by shopping around, while a company called Best Quote does the shopping for you for free. They monitor the rates of over 150 insurance companies. Call this toll-free number, and Best Quotes will send you a free, no-obligation comparison of 5 policies that offer the lowest rates for your age and coverage. For example, if you're a man age 40, you can get $100,000 coverage for just $125 a year. The same man can get $250,000 coverage for just $205 a year. When you receive your free quotes, you can review them in the privacy of your own home. No salesperson will ever visit. So save hundreds of dollars on your term insurance. Call Best Quote for your free rate comparison.
For a free comparison of the 5 lowest cost term policies for you, call Best Quote at 1-800-522-5333. 1-800-522-5333.
Get your foot back into the game as the top college soccer programs battle it out. Catch the action week after week as speed, skill, and toughness prove victorious on the College Soccer Game of the Week. Every week on this regional sports network.
What a way to end the season here at Jennerstown. Crowning a champion early in the race and late race fireworks. Let's go to the champion. He's the next guest on the Ralph Shaheen Show.
Well, I'm very happy to introduce you to the 1995 ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series champion, Brian Refner. That's been a long year, and what an incredible finish to the title chase. Tell me what went through your mind early on when you had all those problems.
We had a brake bracket, it broke, and it went out and rubbed on the rim and blew the tire. And it was like your worst nightmare. All we wanted to do was, have no mechanical failures, and here it was so early in the race, and it was like, I can't believe it. We had to come in, and then he totally lost brakes because it ripped the brake line and the whole caliper come off, and I was like, it was just like the worst feeling you could ever think, because that was the only thing that could keep us from winning that championship. Well, and Mike ended up having some trouble too, so. I went from a low to a high in a short period, so that was a good day, and we stayed out there and ran to the end.
Tell me, you had radio problems with your crew as well, didn't you?
It was nonstop with the trouble we had today. We were switching channels, trying to find something that would work, and we just had it was a relentless day, but we just hung in there and did what we had to do, and it was unfortunate that Mike had trouble, but we stuck it out and made sure we were there.
The 1995 AC-Delco Challenge Series national champion, Brian Refner.
And for the record, Brian Refner finishing 14th in this race after he had been dead last at one point, and his hopes of a championship seemed to, well, at least have taken a hit. He ends up the champion anyway. We'll be back to Jennerstown in a moment.
Welcome to a new way to communicate. A new source of news, information, and software available through your computer 24 hours a day. This is the official America Online Tour.
Let me show you how America Online really works. You just point and click.
You've got mail.
Hey, I've got mail.
You can send and receive email even across the internet.
I've done that. Really?
Scan the latest headline. Browse Time Magazine. Find out what's on TV with ABC Online. Look up facts in Compton's Encyclopedia. You can even explore the Smithsonian right on your computer.
My son gets help with his homework.
Call now for your free trial. You'll get free software and 10 hours of free online time your first month. America Online. It's knowledge. It's power.
And?
Okay, it's fun.
Call now for a no-obligation free trial of America Online. You'll get free startup software and 10 hours of free online time your first month. Call now, 1-800-537-0300.
Harvey Penick was perhaps golf's greatest teacher. To share in his legacy, call 1-800-985-8080 and order the Little Green Video. Featuring 1992 U.S. Open champion Tom Kite and two-time Masters champion Ben Crenshaw, the Little Green Video contains more than 70 minutes of lessons, stories, tips, and drills. Rated 4 stars by Golf Magazine, the Little Green Video gives you instant access to the secrets that have helped thousands play their best. Call 1-800-985-8080. Order the Little Green Video today.
Welcome back to the AC-Delco Challenge Series on Prime as Parts America presents the AC Rapidfire 400, brought to you in part by Win Oil Company, makers of quality automotive car care products. Remember, when it's wins, it works. By your GM Goodwrench service dealer, we want your business. And by Parts America. We've got your parts, America.
Well, as one driver and crew celebrate a race victory, that of course being Bob Seneker and the Johnsonville Foods Lane Automotive folks, and another driver, Brian Refner and company, celebrating a season championship, we'd like to say congratulations to some other folks who this season were selected by their peers as the best on pit road in ASA. As front tire changer, it was the member of Scott Hansen's racing team, Jim Schroeder. Front tire changer of the year, Jackman of the year, Dave Myers from the Mike Eddy racing team. Gary Donegan selected by his fellow rear tire changers as the best in his group. And crew chief, not surprisingly, again this season goes to Howie Leddow, who calls the shots for Tony Raines in the clean burn Pontiac. Of course, a second place or a third place finish here today. And a big congratulations to Gasman of the Year, Greg Dean. And I guess you'd almost have to call him Sportsman of the Year, Brian, because early in the race when Brian Refner was having problems and Mike Eddy was the race leader, Greg Dean, Gasman for the Year, for the Mike Eddy team, went over and helped Refner and get that car up off the off the ground. And what a great move of sportsmanship.
And what a great souvenir. Do you reckon Bob Seneca will take that thing back and put it up on a pedestal and cast it in bronze? That's got to go down as one of the most exciting and unusual finishes in stock car racing history. Bob Seneca tail first across the finish line to win the AC Rapidfire 400 over Joe Knott. The winners are still down there, and we're not done here at Jennerstown. We're going to take a little extra time here for the last race.
Win.
There's a place where lovers go to cry their troubles away, and they call it Lonesome Town, where the broken hearts stay.
Yes!
You can buy a dream or two.
It's an amazing feat. And of course, it's Price Pfister who engineered it. A never-before fusion of style featuring a fantastic lifetime valve that makes fail-proof faucets both possible and affordable. So fail-proof, they'll work flawlessly forever. Fail-proof, affordable, forever yours, Price Pfister. The fabulous faucet with the funny name.
Hey, Vince, there's a big old juicy hunter sitting on an ATV in the mud over there. You suppose he's stuck?
I hope so. I'm starving. Wait a minute. That's a Suzuki King Quad. Selectable 2 or 4-wheel drive, 5-speed transmission, 3-speed sub-tranny. Nah, I've yet to see one get stuck.
Then what's he doing just sitting there?
Looks like he just stopped to...
Reload!
For special ATV financing, see your nearest Suzuki dealer or call 1-800-828-RIDE.
Welcome back to Jennerstown. These folks here waiting for their chance to go down and meet and greet the winners. They will get it. The American Speed Association AC-Delco Challenge Series is very fan-friendly. The gates will open, and they'll be able to join those folks, including our Ralph Shaheen, down on Victory Lane. Looking at the whole field rundown here, Bob Seneca, the winner, 79th career victory, 2 for 2 here at Jennerstown in 1995. Joe Knott, well, if they had door handles, it might have been by a door handle there for second place. Still his best career finish in the American Speed Association. His first career win has eluded him so far. Tony Raines finishing third. Quite a few visits to the podium for Tony Raines, including a couple of wins this year. One on the road course, one finally on an oval. There's Mike Miller starting the second 5 there. Steve Holtzhausen, a great run. He was there all day long. Dave Sensiba. Ted Smokestad, his best finish.
Rookie of the race, car number 32, a great run. 11th to Rick Miller, another rookie, 1 lap down. Jay Sauter and Brad Loney, 12th and 13th. They were stronger than that, but both lost laps in the pits due to cut tires. And Brian Refner, 14th, and the good doctor, Yale Conley. That's probably as strong an oval track run as he's had, despite the fact that he had a couple of spins out there, a good run.
Continuing to look through the field, Glenn Galt, not really visible to us so much during the race, but a very steady finish in 16th. Cindy Peterson with a good run. Again, a very steady effort there in 18th. Attrition taking its toll as Alec Pinsino, I think, the first victim of the race, out early, followed by Jeff Finley.
21st through 25th, Billy Turner, the sole Oklahoman to ever start an ASA race. Harold Fair, 22nd. Todd Forbes, who again was strong early and very much in the hunt. Dennis Berry expecting to go for Rookie of the Year next year. And our PhD, David Anspaugh, finishing 25th.
A lot of these cars still running at the end, and of course their position a function of how many laps they lost while in the pits. Tom Jones, the zero hero winner here 2 years ago. Bill Baird, rookie champion Rick Beebe. Our congratulations and hats off to a very workmanlike performance by him and his entire team. The Engine Armour Chevrolet team owner John Freeman and the entire crew. Eddie Sharp, a good run here today for a while, and a battle with Brandon Sperling that came up short after they had been lead lap cars late in the race.
D.B. Sharp and Sperling, all lead lap cars until just 50 laps to go. Tim Sauter, again,
the mayor's favorite.
Yeah, the mayor's favorite. And the Randy Larson, car number 02, 31st, followed by J.D. Summers. Another tough day for Tony Roper. Steve Carlson was strong early, subbing for Scott Hansen, and Brett Bell finishing 35th.
Just a couple more cars on the run down here. Bob Dorstowitz, an early victim, and Mike Eddy. When was the last time you saw Mike Eddy listed as the last place car?
Might have been a year ago, right here.
Right here.
You know, as he tried to.
No, I think Miller was a spot down from him last year. Went out even earlier. But anyway, Mike Eddy, of course, the fortunes turned so rapidly in his favor and then went away for Mike Eddy. And likewise for Brian Refner, it looked like his chances for a championship took a hit, but came right back and he won it. There's Bob Seneker, the winner here today. Brian Refner, the champion, and we'll be back.
Live NASCAR Winston Cup Racing on TNN, the Nashville Network. High stakes, ultra-high speeds, and the men who lay it all on the line. The extreme heat of a battle, where a mistake can cost you more than just the race. Yeah, nothing can rock 'em and roll 'em like live Winston Cup Racing on TNN Motorsports. It doesn't get any closer. Watch the AC-Delco 400 live Sunday, October 22nd, 12 noon Eastern.
Yamaha makes a four-wheel drive ATV for everybody. Almost everybody. But with the most versatile line of four-wheel drive ATVs to choose from, you'll find a rugged, reliable Yamaha made for you. It figures he'd pick the Big Bear.
Memphis, California Gold, the finest cleaners, polishes, and finish restores. Carnauba wax protects and shines. Easy to apply, looks great.
California Gold. There's no shine like Mother's.
We're still adding up the points, and we'll get to those in a few moments, but let's go once again down to pit road. Ralph Shaheen has the man who, with the best seat in the house for the most exciting finish ever.
Well, Tony Raines has really had a pretty strong second half of the 95 season, and that's got to set you up pretty good for 1996. Another fine run here today. Feel pretty good about next year?
Yeah, I think me and the guys on the team, the Baker Motorsports, undoubtedly the best team in the ASA. We got down a lap. They had some good stops. They got us back up front. We got a lap back, and just proved how good a car we had. And we kept plugging away and hung in there. And just didn't have enough power for them Fords. They run pretty good here on this long straightaway track, but the Pontiac was working good. Credit to Howard. We had a pretty good setup, and we had some local sponsorship there, Mex American and Clean Burn, and all the folks that have helped us out all year. Redline Oil, I'm really thankful they stuck with us. We had a tough beginning, but we come around, and as a whole, I think we're pretty happy with the year.
Well, I guess that's about it for us down here in pit road, gentlemen, and as we get ready to throw it back up to you. Hey, Rob, it's been great having you a part of our crew as you and I have been on this thing since the beginning. We're going to be sorry to not see you with us next year.
Well, I'm going to be around quite a bit. I'll be at Lakeland Open this season, and talking to Dan Duval, he still wants me at as many as I can make, so the non-conflicting Winston Cup races, I plan to be right here. I love this racing series.
Ralph Shaheen down on pit road. Our congratulations for another job well done. He continues to amaze us here in the booth. We're not done yet here at Jennerstown, and just a little bit more. We'll be right back.
Listen, it's okay to hassle with a handheld trimmer now and then, or even a small wheels mower as long as you stick to short grass. But now, you can have the best of both machines in the revolutionary 2-machines-in-1 DR trimmer mower. First, the DR is a trimmer that rolls light as a feather on 2 big wheels. That takes the load off your back while you do all your trimming. Second, the DR is a heavy-duty bladeless mower. It clears rough areas, tall weeds, even wet grass without clogging. So now, with this one machine, you can take control of your property like never before with the revolutionary DR trimmer mower. A big color catalog is just $2. Call toll-free 1-800-522-5333. That's 1-800-522-5333 for your big color catalog all about the 2 machines in 1 DR trimmer mower.
The competition, the determination, the drama, the elation, the English League highlights.
Catch up on all the action every week on this regional sports network.
Welcome back. There's a look at the champion of the AC-Delco Challenge Series, Brian Refner, the second man in history to win a championship in his second season of racing, and quite a deserving one indeed. He's the guy on top of the heap. Here's how they stacked up behind him. Glenn Allen Jr. Finishes the season in second. Bob Seneker, today's winner, ends up third. He came in fourth. Mike Eddy, the guy that moved down the list from second to fourth place, and Gary St. Amant rounds out the top 5 in the Hooters Super Cup point standings for the year. Brad Loney and Mike Miller staying 6th and 7th. Tony Raines moved up a spot. Joe Knott also moving up a spot, and Scott Hansen, not here, of course, moved down.
Well, I'll tell you, things did shake up, but not as much as they could have. Race summary, 11 different leaders, 13 lead changes, and it was, side-by-side racing at the front all day long. 10 cars on the lead lap, and in 400 laps, that's pretty impressive. 13 caution periods for a total of 77 laps. It really didn't seem like we were under yellow that long to me.
Well, it seemed like just another day at the office
Yes,
here for the American Speed Association. I mean, we've gotten used to this stuff, folks. Believe it or not, it doesn't get any better than this, and we're always welcome.
Can your radio do this? Only one radio can give you stereo sound this big, yet is small enough to fit almost anywhere. The extraordinary new Wave radio from Bose. Press the remote control and hear sound from a radio like you've never heard before. Big, rich sound that fills the room. You hear music the way it was meant to be heard. Clear, full, incredibly lifelike. You've got to hear the Wave radio to believe it. And now you can, in your own home. Satisfaction guaranteed. Call us toll-free to learn how, and we'll deliver the Wave radio to your door. Experience big stereo sound from a radio. Call today for more information. It will make a difference in the way you listen to music. A big difference.
Spartan School of Aeronautics can train you to be a pilot or quality...
A pilot?
Yes, Spartan has been training aviation professionals in Tulsa, Oklahoma since 1928. Spartan offers training in aviation maintenance, broadcast... What now?
Shouldn't you join the military for something like that?
Only if you want a haircut.
I guess you could say careers are really taking off at Spartan.
Call Spartan School of Aeronautics at 1-800-352-2121 for a brochure. That's 1-800-352-2121.
Welcome back here at Jennerstown. Spring has sprung, summer's gone, fall has fell, the racing season is over, and it's with a little tear in our eye, I guess, that we say goodbye, at least for 1995, shortly, and we'll be back to do just exactly that, to wish you all a happy off-season, and to look forward to 1996 in a moment.
Car in NASCAR Winston Cup history is back. Introducing the race-modified Chevrolet Monte Carlo.
Live, NASCAR, Winston Cup Racing on TNN, the Nashville Network. High stakes, ultra-high speeds, and the men who lay it all on the line. The extreme heat of a battle, where a mistake can cost you more than just the race. Yeah, nothing can rock 'em and roll 'em like live Winston Cup Racing on TNN Motorsports. It doesn't get any closer. Watch the AC-Delco 400 live Sunday, October 22nd, 12 noon Eastern.
Why do the most serious car enthusiasts choose Auto Week every week? Because for a true car lover, once a month simply isn't enough.
Auto Week has the latest news because it's a weekly. You can stay up on top of everything.
If you love cars, you should be subscribing to Auto Week.
Call this number now for our special TV offer.
Auto Week will give you information on new models that really isn't available anywhere else.
Auto Week readers are the real car experts, and Auto Week helped them to get that way.
I'm into going racing with my buddies, and Auto Week gives us information to talk about before it's old news. Anything with wheels, Auto Week has.
Call now and get 52 issues of Auto Week for only $19.95 and 85% saving off the cover price. That's 52 issues of the car news you need for only 38 cents an issue.
If you're as serious about cars as I am, you've got to be reading Auto Week.
Call now for our special TV offer, just $19.95 a year. Auto Week. For a true car lover, once a month is not enough.
If you only had time for one car magazine, Auto Week would be the one to read.
Call now.
Welcome back to Jennerstown as we take a look at one of our hard-working, slightly frozen, but enthusiastic and skillful cameramen. There are two of them, one taking a picture of the other. That was Dave Miller up there that we saw first. You'll take a look at the names of all of the people that have been a part of the broadcast here today. And for those who aren't with us here, most notably Gary Clem, who's been with us throughout the course of the year, and several others who have whose work we have enjoyed. These are the people that made it possible for you today. Two-way communications equipment for Group 5 personnel provided by Atlanta Communications. You've been watching live ASA racing on the AC-Delco Challenge Series from the Jennerstown Speedway in Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. This has been a Group 5 sports presentation. Our thanks also, once again, to a few folks that weren't here. Bud Bray, Chaz Moy, lots of people that made it possible. For my partner, Rob Albright, up here in the booth for the unbelievable